my own published research again.
How
So
dare you?
I know, dude. This has been the third time. So the first time happened like 3 or 4 months ago. And then I tried to talk about it. I talked about it this week. So then I put out a short about it. That got a community guidelines like violation. And then I re-edited it, tried to put out it again, and it got another violation. It's just like not capable of being talked about, apparently. Like it's just not not okay.
Does it give you like a category of what it's flagged on, like misinformation or?
Misinformation. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay.
misinformation flag.
I'd be curious of like what the algorithm is detecting or as misinformation.
It's because it's about cancer. So it's like we're talking about something that we did to target cancer cells in the body. You know, we made it inside of algae, and I should be able to talk about that. I should be able to talk about that.
No, I agree.
But
I'm just curious of like,
it's crazy.
what string of words is like
I know, right?
detecting it as
I don't know, man.
misinformation.
It's so frustrating. It's
Yeah, I'll
so
bet.
frustrating. I think it's cancer, and then the other word would be like killing or hurting. I think like that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's the only thing. It's just crazy.
I have to assume there are much more egregious violations on TikTok that don't get flagged, but
Yeah, I think like um yeah, I mean basically you have like different types of them, and but anything for there's like warnings and strikes, and hopefully I didn't get like a strike on my account, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, well, thanks for being here, guys. This is the Pro Science Anti-MAHA panel. As again, thank you guys for coming with Prime and Corey as always, talking about like this week's interesting science news, combating MAHA and the awful bills that they are doing, and on it, in addition, yeah, just talking about some interesting stuff. Hopefully, I thought it was like a really interesting news week in that it went through all the hearings happened and stuff with RFK, and like the biggest thing, honestly, for me this week was one of those things where you always hear that famous quote like and then they told you to not believe your eyes and your ears. It was like the most essential command from 1984, and I never understood it, and I don't know why I am still baffled why this stuff keeps happening, that I don't get why I'm still surprised. But like the fact that Trump and RFK, so RFK was in the meeting, said something bad. Like Trump originally said something that was empirically wrong through math. Like it was how 100 percentiles work. And
I saw the
basically
clip.
like, yeah. And then basically RFK was asked about it. And then he said, no, 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 no. Trump just has a different way of calculating percentages. And he was like, what? And then he explained it, and he said it really poorly. And then RFK, in this White House meeting that they were having, they go and he basically reiterates and tries to redo the same point and says the same thing. Like that basically like if you have money in a stock and you get it and you gain a certain amount, you go from 100 to $200, right? You're gaining 100%, but if you lose 50%, you're going back down to 100. You don't lose 200. So it's like the idea that can even happen. It's ludicrous. But he reiterates it, and Trump is sitting there saying, "Yep, yep, exactly." And I'm like, I don't like literally math, man. Like this is like 1 + 1 = Trump. Like the reality, the alternate reality that these people live in. I don't know. Like, why am I still shocked about it? And it's such a clear aspect of it.
Well, I think just like the whole talking point of alternative facts. No surprise they have
Mm-hmm.
alternative math. Like I think another clear example of like they will fall in line like no matter what, even if it's
Yep.
like literally mathematically incorrect. It's like, well, no, just his way of doing it is the right way. everyone else is doing it wrong. Trump's way of doing it is obviously the correct way, or it's just a different way of doing it that must be equally valid. But yeah, that's a very sad state of affairs. And like, yeah, the fact that someone can be willing to just, I mean, that's easily verifiable. And it's like, it is basic math and percentages. But the fact that with a straight face, he can go and like defend it is, well, yeah, embarrassing. But obviously they don't feel that.
Exactly, man.
And
what do you think, Prime? Is it like, is at this point, are you just numb to this stuff, or are you, is there still lower lows for you?
I mean, I'm sure there's lower lows, but this wouldn't be the thing that would get me there. Um, like, yeah, I don't know. Do we expect that Trump knows math? Like is Trump following, or is he just like following the gist of RFK Jr. praising him? Right, like that's the important part. Like nothing else. Like the math didn't matter, the subject matter didn't matter, none of that mattered. Like within the span of the sentiment, right, being portrayed conveyed as that Trump equal genius, and that was enough. Like I don't know. So no, I don't particularly. This, I mean, it's fine. Like, and I think it's good to make fun of them. That in itself has its own utility. But like on this particular thing, I mean, it's fine. It's whatever.
well, it's fine in the sense that, oh, it's not surprising. Like, this is what you expect them how to behave.
Yeah. It's not surprising. So yeah, I guess that's it.
And like, you know, to I guess reinforce the point of how, you know, they would just fall in line and do whatever it is to either make Trump look good or like cover up over his like mistakes or whatever. Like there was a clip of like Trump was going up the stairs into Air Force One, like, you know, whatever, from like into the plane of Air Force One, and Trump stumbled. But then immediately afterwards, he just had to go up like a misstep. He didn't actually fall. But then like, I don't know, like 10 seconds laterwards, like Marco Rubio like started going up the stairs as well into Air Force One. And it seemed, I don't actually know for sure, since you can't verify this thing, because you know what his state of mind is. But it looks like he intentionally stumbled also up the stairs, like make it look like this is just like a thing.
Stair, dude.
Yeah,
It's slippery. It's slippy.
yeah, and like just no shame, like
That's
whatsoever.
a huge dear leader thing, right? Like
Yeah,
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 exactly. I think that
no,
you're
it's like,
exactly right, dude.
but the point is
They're
you
trying
can't
to.
shame the leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's it.
no, you go
They're
first.
trying to follow on the sword, you know, as much as they can, and they're trying to just like, you know, it's just one. I feel like it's one of those moments where it's just there's one of those things where these guys are so in like this fetishization to like just do whatever they can to serve him. It's so gross, dude. It's just gross. I don't get it.
and the loyalty, well, is interesting and sad because it's like they're clearly like very loyal to him to the point where it looks like, again, I don't know for sure, like I will literally like pretend to like stumble just to make him look good. But like I think everyone knows that like the moment that you're no longer useful to Trump, he'll discard you like nothing, like no matter what.
Dude,
It's like,
shout out the anti-fascist frog is in chat right now. The actual one from the protest, man. So thanks for joining, bro. Yeah, this is like a Fridays. We got a basically like a pro science anti-MAHA kind of like, you know, wrap up panel kind of discussion. But yeah, man, I think the hearings were really interesting. I am so blown away how he just is allowed to lie in these congressional testimonies. Like he's under oath. He's like, they have no shame to just blatantly talk about like falsehoods. And I don't know, man. I just it's so wild to me how and then the math thing, like it's one thing to lie about politics, I guess, and to try to kind of like create some reasoning in his mind or you know, all that kind of stuff. But now you have just this like 1 + 1 = well, Trump doesn't think, if you add 1 to 1, you're only adding a 1. So maybe 1 plus 1 is equal to 1, because just 1 and 1 is not, you're not adding, it's not bigger than the other one, so you can't really increase it. So that's why, like, 1 plus 1 is actually just 1. What is the, how are they gonna just twist themselves?
Yeah, and this is easily fact checkable. Like, it would be a little bit ridiculous, but like a person can do it. Just like take out a calculator, just show like the numbers don't add up that way. And I think I saw some, and I have like mixed feelings about this, but I saw some clips of like they were trying to fact check him, or like I think they were using ChatGPT, because like RFK was, I believe, was like citing some articles, misciting or misquoting some articles. And I think like one of the individuals like that was questioning him, like was using AI to like see if it actually tracks. I'm like, well, yeah, no surprise. Even the AI summary like can clearly demonstrate that what RFK is saying is like incorrect.
He is.
Well, my understanding is that was a doctor himself.
Yeah, he's a physician.
He has a and then I from what I could see, obviously I was looking at a screen. But from what I could see, it seemed like he was using that as a search tool, right? To like find the article. And then later on, I think there was a cut. Maybe you saw the same clip that I saw, but I think there was a cut to later on the hearing when he's looking at the article itself, and then like saying, like, starting quoting from the article. That's my understanding. I'm misinterpreting things. But I think there's the thing that I'm torn about is like this conversation, because I think there is, like I said, utility one in just like making fun of these people, right? And also like I guess I don't want people to be like me, and that like I'm extremely jaded. Like I've seen so much worse, and I'm focused on so much worse, right? And by that I mean like the slaughter in Lebanon and the genocide in Gaza, right? So I've like having like say something about like numbers, right, and making that up, it's just so a small ball to me. But at the same time, I think I think there is usefulness in letting people like grab onto these small issues that they can get their hands around, right? Like you just like literally just made up numbers, right? Like you just made up numbers with like the American media watching you, right? You just like made that up. It was obviously nonsense. And like it's like you said, a blatant lie. There is utility in being outraged to this, right? And I guess it's good for partisanship, right? Like in terms of getting people onto your side to show the ridiculousness, because I guess people don't like actually, they shy away from the big things, right? I think a lot of people feel like, oh well, these other issues are just like too much for me.
This is an easy win. You don't have to do much.
Yeah. But at the same time, again, this is where I'm torn back and forth. At the same time, like I was reminded today that the Trump administration is still slaughtering fishermen out in the Pacific and Caribbean Sea. Like that's just still a thing that's happening. Like we're just still like bombing these people, calling them quote unquote narco terrorists, as if that would be an excuse any which way. Whatever that is, their made up term. It didn't exist before them any which way. And just raw execution for execution's sake. They know these people aren't guilty. There was an article that I was taking a look at in which these fishermen, some fishermen from a strike that survived, right? Well, they got gathered up, got sent to a jail in El Salvador. I'm not sure if it's like the CCOT prison, but someplace in El Salvador, right? The ones that survived, they got like literally black bagged and sent over there, interrogated, and then let go. Like, and eventually, like, they made it all the way back to Ecuador, right? And like, it's like, yeah, they let us go without a single charge, so they know they're not guilty. And they just like bomb the shit out of these people, right?
Dang.
And so like I guess my problem is with humanity, not with you fellas. To be very clear, right? My problem is that like people don't focus in on like the things that actually really matter, you know, and like we need to bring people in with like bad math, right? So again, utility in what you're saying, outrage, personal outrage for me that people like aren't focusing in on the things that actually deserve your outrage. Yeah, there you go.
No, I mean that's fair, and I understand where you're coming from, and like I understand that an issue like the math thing is like a minor issue, but it's like that's where it's like I agree with you. People should care about the larger issues more, but those are like understandably, you know, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but more difficult to process as well. And also, like some people understandably want to avoid that type of information. Again, not saying that's a good thing, but yeah, like the easy wins are just like easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot to do with like news diet and algorithms, man. Like like what you're getting fed. I feel like, it's just it creates like these viral moments that people see, and my news feed or my algorithm feed is all clips from these trials or whatever, or these hearings, and the news feed that doesn't have anything that's it's tough, man. It's tough to escape it. You have to like be purposefully outside of algorithmic generated content. I think it's just that's the best way to avoid it. But I slip all the time.
Yeah, to be clear, again, I none of that was aimed at any of you.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No.
It's
Yeah,
just my frustration. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's weird because I can find it. I get it like right now. I get it a lot with because of my feed. I have a lot of like physicians and scientists on like Instagram, and I'm like, this is not a representation of like what's happening, and like in there is like a bubble effect where it's like now I see all this stuff happening, and I'm like, well, why do I need to put my stuff out there if there's already a ton of scientists or what already out there or something, stuff like that. It's like it can kind of just it's weird. It is weird. It's hard to break free.
And also for those larger issues that you brought up, Prime, which people should care more about, but there's also understandably people feel just, I think maybe this relates to as well, like people feel powerless to do anything about those issues, or like it's even less able to do something about that, other than just like be aware of it, and that understandably like brings you down or makes you cynical, and so people's attention will go to those easy wins, or just focus on the bad math type of thing. Again, not saying it's a good thing, just describing sort of the situation.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because there's like, and especially in RFK was talking about this too, where they were laughing about with the Republicans at the same thing that they were doing alternative math. They were like talking about how all the Democrats were talking about measles. Like, can you imagine they were talking about measles? Like, we've only lost like 3 people. Only 3 people have died because of measles. Why would they be asking about this stuff? And it's like, it's so pernicious, because that the Republicans that are watching that their algorithm is all about downplaying it and saying that it is not a problem. Like, I had one guy reply to one of my Facebook stories, and he was like, we lose people in car crashes in a week than we've lost in measles in the last 25 years. And I'm like,
these are the same people that will like defend a zygote to their death. Right? And never forget about that.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. 3 people a year? Come on. Two kids? Come on.
Well, then what's a zygote, right? What's a fertilized egg, right?
Exactly. So
Who
like
cares?
exactly, dude. So it's like, and I'm like, bro, that's literally because we had vaccines that kept that mortality so far down, and now like it's going up because people are refusing to vaccinate, and that's the problem that we're having. But like the news feed that they're in, man, is like, it's so cyclical. It's just it's wild. It's really, it sucks, dude.
Well, can we explore that for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Like, uh, so I'm gonna take this from the stance of a non-believer, right? Of a anti-vaxxer, right? Like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, sure, maybe over the span of 25 years, yeah, but like you're saying, there's an outbreak right now, okay? Outbreak right
Mm-hmm.
this second, and the outbreak started like 2 years ago or something. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly when, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then within that outbreak, yeah, only 3 people have died, or I don't know if that is like the exact number, but okay, if it's 3 people, yeah, only 3 have died, right? And so you're
Mm-hmm.
telling me that's a big problem, but like, well, I mean, we just went through COVID and a lot more people died, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen, and we know of other just infectious diseases, and people die of those at much higher rates. So yeah, it's only 3 people. So you keep telling me it's a big deal, but I'm not seeing the deaths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think so. So measles is pernicious because it's the most infectious disease known to mankind, and two, it makes everything else more powerful. So imagine you had a debuff in a video game that removed all your armor, and now you're gonna go, you have like that best in slot amazing raid end of game armor that's incredible, and then now you lose all that armor, and now you have to go fight just like the regular same level monster that you would easily take down before, um, but now you die because you don't have any armor, you don't have any weapons. So like, that's the type of scenario where your armor is your immune system and measles takes out your immune system. So basically it creates a scenario where the flu, pertussis, whooping cough are way way more strong like in your system. And we know this is why, like before, this is why in the 1900s, measles and smallpox killed like hundreds of millions of people. So it's really sinister, how they work. So that's
Honest
the so
question:
it's yeah.
is measles like similar to AIDS then? Because that's how AIDS is described to me.
So basically, measles will attack your T cells and B cells and wipe out your entire immune system. I think like I don't know exactly the mechanisms of AIDS. I think it's an immunodeficiency disease, but I don't know if it's attacking your T cells and B cells specifically. I don't know.
I think it's largely T cell, but I'm a little bit rusty in my.
That's why I always remember them talking about T cells, but yeah, it's like my
I
old
believe
brain.
it is generally T cell,
Yeah.
but again, my virology is a little bit rusty. Um, but let's just say, it, for the measles, from what I understand, it's sort of like not truly like, but there are some parallels to draw. But I think the immune deficiency that, let's say, when HIV turns into AIDS is a little bit more severe, or actually I think substantially more severe than measles over time. But I could be wrong about that. But like, yes, definitely there is this aspect of overall weakened immunity for measles. But also at the same time, I'm not sure if it's like, and I'll let Greg correct me if I'm wrong, because I may very well be. Like, that's not necessarily a guaranteed or outcome. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying that like people are willing to like roll the dice like with that type of thing.
Yeah, there's side effects. It was like, I think the immune amnesia is like 30%. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like 30%. But then there's like weird things where you can have like brain swelling,
Yes,
10
exactly.
years down the line, and you're like, dang, it's kind of like a ticking time bomb inside your body. So yeah,
But
it's just,
yeah, go ahead.
I think it's more of like, once it's a rolling ball down the hill kind of thing, and it spreads so the infectivity is so fat, like so high, it can go to unvaccinated people so easily and spread because it lingers in the same room for hours. So that's why it's like one of those things where if you don't stop it early, it can really like wreck and you know, a population and get everywhere, and then it's hard to get away. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think one of the major issues is like pretty much as you brought up, pretty much like the most infectious or transmissible viral infection like ever. So even if it's like, I'm just making up numbers of, even it's, let's say, a 10%, complication rate with measles, but like 10% of like, you have the global population. That's a lot. I mean, we saw that sort of similarly with SARS-CoV-2. And yeah, people for whatever reason don't seem to take into account that there are many other negative effects outside of death. As in, like, death is not the only negative outcome. And I think HIV into AIDS is like actually a really good example in terms of the parallel, because it's like, from what I understand, like in patients that develop AIDS from HIV, they don't directly die strictly from the virus itself, but it's like the secondary infections of, like, now your secondary infections, like your common cold or your flu, are just now pretty much like essentially potentially lethal for you, because you have virtually no immune system or such reduced immunity. But like no one, I don't think anyone would make the case of like, well, HIV not a big deal because you don't die really from the virus itself. That'd be a stupid argument. I'm sure someone will make that, but that's a dumb argument.
What's the scariest and most common disease? That's
Probably
an
the common
interesting
cold,
question.
I would imagine. Is that a disease?
Influenza, probably.
Or influenza.
Yeah, and yeah, probably is like influenza. There's a lot of people that lose their life because of influenza. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's less a big deal here because we have easily available medicine. But like, actually, to go on that, like, going backwards, why haven't we seen the deaths for measles? Like what you said sounds awfully terrifying to me. No one's ever explained to me how measles work. And I'll shout out to Dr. Greg because video game references appeal to me. So good work there.
Nice. Nice. Good.
But why aren't there more deaths then?
Yeah, it's like one of those things where there aren't that, like, the community spread is still happening. We don't have the herd immunity, and it's going through. It's still new for those people, and we haven't seen kind of like the cascading effects of like we've only gone through one flu season. What about the next flu season? Are they even more susceptible? Like whooping cough coming up, or pertussis, or these other things, like, are they going to be more higher mortality rate as we go forward? So it's still new, enough that the primary, it's very rare, and we knew this, that it's very rarely the primary infection that is deadly for measles. It's usually something else. It's usually a secondary infection. So we have seen 3 people that would have not lost their life, all unvaccinated people, all die from measles already. So, in the thousands, I mean, there's like 2,000 cases this year, 1,700 cases or something like that, just in this year. So, I still think that it's a bad omen for things to come.
But to maybe expand on your question, Prime, like, so, like the question of like where are the deaths is a valid question, and I can even ask the same thing, like, for there were, I think, 1 million deaths or 1.2 million deaths in the United States for SARS-CoV-2, I believe. And there were obviously deaths in Canada as well, where I'm located. But thankfully, I know that I'm highly confident, unfortunately, people died, but I don't know anybody that died. Like, I can make the turn into being a COVID denier of like, I don't know anybody that died, therefore nothing bad happened type of thing.
Of course, yeah.
And I hope, nobody here, or ideally, I hope nobody knows anybody that died from SARS-CoV, but obviously that's not true. People did lose friends, relatives.
Yeah.
But that's the difficult part of like, since it didn't affect me, or at least some people seem to have this logic of like, well, I'm not directly affected by it, so why should I take it seriously, type of thing. Or until it does, then it's like, who cares?
I mean, with COVID, we had people who were literally got sick with it and still denied
True.
the entire time. Like you're literally like in the hospital on your deathbed, and like no, it's not COVID, or it's not that bad, or give me ivermectin, and all that nonsense. Like
And the
yeah,
hydroxychloroquine. Never forget that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
that
a
one.
lot of people's last breaths before they put the ventilator on was like, is it too late for a vaccine? You know,
Yeah,
it's really
that's
sad.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So it was
it,
more of a cultural thing then. Like it's less that um, you know. I think there's lots of things that led people to that moment in time, right?
mhm,
But uh, you know, a lot of it was this is part of my culture, right? And by that I mean my insular conservative media diet culture, my anti-science, um my culture warrior uh circle, right? This bubble that I've lived in, like that can't be popped, right? I've sacrificed so much to stay in that bubble, right? I probably lost friends trying to stay in this bubble. I have a community inside that bubble, right? And so if I admit that the bubble is not real, or is detrimental, then I lose everything. I lose much more. And like that seems more real to a person than necessarily losing their life, especially to a disease they don't necessarily believe in. So they'll defend that before they'll defend that as they're dying.
Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
admitting that you're wrong is tough, man. People don't want to do it.
Without going too far into a tangent, but like, yeah, the psychological barriers that people put up to protect themselves, I think, are super interesting. And I'm sure I'm guilty of this at some level. But to use an example, and I don't know how deep the psychology goes, but like, yeah, there's clearly something in our brains that like that we have to protect ourselves from whatever damaging or damaging to the ego information. The example that I use that sort of crystallizes it for me is my grandmother, who is 94, 95.
Mhm.
She's essentially like late stage dementia state. Okay, but like 2 years ago, and make no mistake, I love my grandmother. I was just visiting her early this afternoon. But about 2 years ago, she fell, a mild fall, but she fractured her hip. Not a major fracture. She had an operation. Okay, but understandably, and like the way she fell, like she would just like the staff in her residence like found her just on the floor in her room. She like sort of like took a tumble and she fell.
Mhm.
Nothing major. But then and my grandmother's memory is like pretty much she can't remember an hour ago or let alone 5 minutes ago. But like when she was in the hospital recovering, okay, and she would understandably regularly ask, like, why am I in the hospital? Okay.
Mhm.
And then you would let her know, inform her that, well, you fell. And then she would ask, well, how did I fall? And we described the situation of like, well, it seems like you just like, tripped on your carpet or something, you fell. But that was like an impossible scenario for my grandmother. In her mind,
Mhm.
she fell down like the biggest like spiral staircase. She would like share this story of like, it's impossible that I just tripped and fell like on like the carpet. No, I must have fell down like the biggest staircase in the world. Or like she was like hiking Mount Everest, and that's the context in which she fell. Now, how that translates over to psychological protections that we have to protect ourselves from, damaging information to the ego, I don't know, but I think that's a very interesting scenario that I see play out with, well, my grandmother as the example. But I think it plays out for
Mhm.
all of us at some level.
I had a question from chat about like, do we have any success stories from people that have changed their mind, where they actually believe the science? Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people. I started doing this TikTok stream in August, and I've made several notable people like change their minds, and one of them changed his mind and got his kids plural all vaccinated and up to date with all their immunizations. So yeah, I think that there's several people that had either like lapsed on their flu or COVID and came in here and realized how important it was, or but in general, I don't think that you can change someone's mind like in a conversation. I think the Dawkins quotes, like, you can't reason someone out of a position that they haven't reasoned themselves into. So they're not going to have like an epiphany moment where they're going to have a come to Jesus, like, oh my gosh. It's going to be one of those things where you have to kind of plant the seed, and then they kind of have to nurture that. They have to be inquisitive. They have to want to learn. You can't force it on someone. You can't force someone to learn.
Very true.
So I think that's how we get out of it. I think we have to get out of this anti-intellectualism that way. Hopefully, I don't know how else. I think it's like a cultural thing too. Like, we have to, we have a lot of people that are just nonsense talkers in our media that they just go up there and there's no analysis or data. No, and it's just very pernicious in a lot of different conversations. How little qualifications people have in terms of like what they're talking about, the background, and it's just I think it's the anti-vaccine stuff was allowed to ferment inside of an anti-intellectualism that's broader than that, and that they're just taking advantage of it. People that, and specifically like RFK, who is a grifter, who is lying specifically, and we know that RFK lies. We know that he knows vaccines are safe and effective, but he makes millions of dollars suing the pharmaceutical companies for these bogus vaccine injury claims. So he lies and says that they're this big problem, and this cycle repeats. The same people who say that vaccines are harmful, sell you a detox cleanse, $100 a month vitamin pack, and now here we are.
Well, so if or when Democrats are back in power, and pretty much to the extent of they have the White House, Congress, and Senate, do you have something in mind of what should be done? Of should RFK somehow find a way to be held accountable for what he has done, or should some sort of policy? I've heard it proposed that maybe Section 230 should be rescinded, or let's say rather social media platforms don't have Section 230 protections.
Sure, I think you have to. Everyone that's been hired by RFK and Trump and every position of government should be fired and have to reapply. I don't think that any of them should be allowed to be there. And then a real coming up what these institutions are and how important the NSF is, the NIH, CDC. What is the role of HHS? I think that we have to build up these institutions again. I think that has to be the thing. We've lost about 10,000 scientists in the federal government. 10,000 scientists in the U.S. federal government since Trump got sworn in. So it's really a hollowing out of a core of scientists that were just trying to either regulate pharmaceutical companies, which I thought they were all about. I thought that they wanted that, or trying to monitor bad practices by for-profit companies that are polluting our environment with microplastics and all that kind of stuff. I thought RFK was for that. It's just, there's all these different ways that they've, the EPA, there's been massive increases in amounts of PFAS, different types of, just tons of different ways that they have harmed us institutionally, and you have to completely reform it. I think 230 and the social media companies, I think that is something that you have to really take a hold of. I think you have to go break out the monopolies and break up these companies, but it's kind of a separate problem than the institution of science.
So let's say what you just laid out actually happens, is all these individuals are fired. would you? So I'm just trying to imagine how I would feel. Like I would feel that that would not, and maybe I'm just being overly like malicious or vengeful, but that would not feel like justice to me. That would not feel like enough for me.
Oh, that's just the start. I mean, that's just the start for sure. I mean, you have to like that. You have to go after these people too. I think the heads of these, the heads have to be. I think you have to have charges going after them because they are perniciously going after. I mean, I think that you do have to go after them with all, everything that you have. Because like to harm this many people on purpose, like when he knows that vaccines are safe and effective, is like that's wild. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what type of. I'm not like a lawyer, and I'm not well versed in like what it is. But
Yeah,
I think
neither am I. That's why, like, I'm not even sure what's
like,
feasible. Like, I feel like something must be done. Although obviously, like, my feelings just might be incorrect. But
I honestly, dude, I don't think it matters. Like Trump has shown us that it really doesn't matter. Like you don't need to have charges. I think you go after RFK for the rest of his life and make his life a living hell, like however you can, throwing every charge that you can at him. Just if you can't get him in jail, you just make him have to go to court and just dwindle his family and the Trumps too, and both of the Trumps. The Trumps have billions of dollars now, and they've stolen so much money from the United States that same thing. Like all the Trump children like should be just constantly in court trying to defend themselves. I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah. So there's definitely a part of me that feels that way. But then the question, like at least for me, one of the questions becomes like, well, like, do we actually go down pretty much take a page out of the Trump playbook? An eye for an eye type of thing. Like part of me definitely like feels that way, but then there's also a part of me that feels that can lead to a spiraling out of control.
Yeah, but like they broke the law. That's the thing, is that the corruption and them stealing billions of dollars is, through the corruption, that is the crime that has been committed, and like the retribution and the justice is part of the justice system. That is what the point of it is. So it's like someone going on a massive crime spree, and then the cop arresting the guy, and he's like, whoa dude, well, I thought we were free society or whatever. It's like, don't go on a massive crime spree. Yeah, Elon too, man. Elon's awful. I think that you have to like use the law and use the justice system, like in order to you have to use it in order to create the society that you want. You know what I mean? By enforcing laws and regulations that make people afraid of doing evil, corrupt actions.
Yeah, no, but that's where it's like, do we give them basically a taste of their own medicine? Like, from what I can tell, I think we're all on the same page of like, Trump. If Trump wants an outcome, he'll try to manufacture any way to get that outcome. Whatever legal loophole they has to go through, he will try to attempt it. And it's like, well, then do we apply that same strategy and, pretty much like let Republicans know how it feels, or like let them know what that can lead to. And, that hopefully leads to, some sort of corrective behavior down the line. But like, yeah, there's definitely a part of me that's on board with everything that you're saying. But then there's a part of me that, maybe a slightly smaller part of me that, wants to, let's say, whatever, quote unquote, be the better person type of thing. But if it constantly leads to you losing, I understand, not a good thing.
I think that the difference is that like Democrats haven't done anything to deserve the treatment that Trump has given them, and the Republicans and Trump and RFK are criminals that need to have justice given to them. So that's why I feel like it's a kind of like a fallacy to think like, oh, are we just going to trump them? They kind of do the same thing to them, because it's like, well, they didn't have a legal or justified reason in order to go after the Democrats. So it's like, and our society, like these are all like he is using his corruption and RFK in this too, in order to push his ideology that's harming people, and that's against that's against our laws, against our constitution. So you have to have justice, man.
Yeah, no, I do think justice is on our side, but that's where
Mm-hmm.
obviously like the Republicans. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Trump feels the same way. If like justice is on his side, like
Yep, for
I think
sure.
he's so deluded and narcissistic to feel that way.
Well, he's going back. Like they said that this week that they were going to come out with charges against people that stole the 2020 election against Trump. So they're still going back to that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. It's
What do you think,
It's
Brian?
tough.
Where do you draw the line in like justice served against like MAGA and Trump?
So, I like the idea of using power politics, like what's happening with the electoral map thing. Like there's that big win in Virginia where the
Mm-hmm.
Democrats will be able to redraw the map. Now that's not so simple because like the court just stopped that. It's got to go through a whole appeals process, whatever. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that works out in their favor, hooray! I
Yeah.
was a person who you know like was very much in for nonpartisan maps drawn by some sort of committee that tried their best, right? Like to balance out the various needs, because like drawing these maps is not nearly as simple as we might think they might be, even if you want to try to do it fairly. But still, I was one of those people who are like, yes, we should have those committees. We should um, you know, uh, that should be a general goal, as good governance. But then the Republicans in Texas started it, saying they're going to do a mid-decade redistricting, and so they use their power politics to get ahead. And if that's the case, well then yes, let's fight back. So I love that California said, well, if you do it, then we'll do it. And then blue states are doing it, and blue states are getting more out of it because Republican states were already gerrymandered to a certain extent. They're just gonna there's less juice to squeeze, right? There because they had already been squeezing for years, and now they're crying about it. Okay, so that's power politics, though. But specifically, what you're talking about is using the judiciary um, for that, and um, I'm less inclined to do that. Much less inclined. Not, but that isn't to say that I am uninclined to uh, charge people for actual crimes. That we should actually be doing. I think with the Trump administration, there's like it's just rife with corruption. Um, so something that the audience might be aware of is that Donald Trump Jr. is on the boards uh, as an advisor to both Kalshi and Polymarket, right?
Mm.
He's just on the boards. And what do you know? Donald Trump's government refuses to regulate them in the way the obs seem to be regulated. Interesting, right? Uh, but beyond that, there is and something I just learned, I think yesterday, is that Eric Trump Jr. or was that sorry, Eric Trump? But Eric Trump is also on a board. He's on the board of this company called like Foundations Futures Institute or something like that. In any case, they do robotics, like humanoid robots. They just won a $24 million defense contract. Huh. He was on TV bragging about this, and he also bragged about literally like it's like I'm always on the cutting edge of technology, right? And I'm doing this like for America. This is I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but I'm doing this for America, to protect us, right? Like I see these opportunities, I invest, right, to keep us ahead, meaning the country. BS. obviously, right? He's doing it for his pocketbook, and it's worked out really well. He talked about like how he was like on top of crypto before, right? Because we need to be number one in crypto. We also need to be number one in these humanoid robots. Anyway, wild corruption throughout the family. So if you're talking about using the justice system here, well, yeah, I mean, if there's charges that we can bring against them, specifically for that, fantastic. In the myriad other crimes, I'm sure that these people have been involved in, absolutely. But I'm less for like harassing my enemies just to harass them. I think that's a step too far. I think that, I mean, like, that's not kind of where I, I, I would say, like, that's not something we want to open up. But then you would say the Trump administration opened it up. They did it first, right? True. Okay. But we should not establish that as a norm just to harass your political enemies just for the sake of it. Um, but furthermore, right? So there's that, and I'd love to hear your response to that. But also, like, I don't really understand what makes you think that the Democrats would do it any which way. These are the same people who, looking at you, Obama, refused to prosecute the banks, right? And all
True.
the surrounding institutions involved in the 2008 financial crisis. And that, as I always say, Corey's heard me say it before, was the crime of the century. The crime of the century. No one was prosecuted for that. Obama said, and this amazingly, Obama said, well, we look forward, not in the past, right? Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's just a rule for rich people because all crimes exist in the past, all of them, right? And if you or I commit a crime, oh, don't worry, the authorities will be happy to look into the past. But specifically, Obama made a exception for the wildly rich who stole a generation of wealth from the American people, from the world, right? And so you're saying, well, looking forward to the Democrats, like dispensing justice. What gives you the thought that they would do that?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
solid criticism.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think. I mean, look at Ford too, pardoning Nixon, and so it's yeah, dude. I think that historically has been the case, and I think that people are sick of it. And so I'd hope that that's not the way forward. And I do think that I think you're right,
Also,
Prime, in the
sorry, they
fact.
also didn't prosecute the Bushes for war crimes. That too, that's another thing, right? So again,
Mhm.
a direct crime by the administration in that case, and they didn't do it. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I agree, and I think like. I think it's not like a petty wretched. It's not like just going after the enemies to go after the enemies. It's more of like, Trump is an illegitimate president because he violated the Constitution in order to get there, and he, like it's like like we have to fix what this is, or else just like the banks, they're gonna keep doing it. And just like the banks is a great example because they got bailed out. They had all of these, Dodd-Frank, legislations that happened, and then they get repealed, and now they're actually even more leveraged than where they were. So they're even worse off. Our financial scenario is even worse than before 2008.
Dodd Frank
Actually,
was a half measure. Sorry, like
yeah,
just to be clear,
no, I agree.
Dodd Frank, even at the time, like the mainstream media wanted to hail it as some sort of revolution. Dodd Frank was a half measure, even at the time. That was So again, the crime of the century happens, right? And Democrats' response is that, hey, let's work with our Republican friends to do something about it. Frank, right? Barney Frank, he's the one half of that. He was a creature of the banks. Like he was totally in their pockets. He had gotten plenty of campaign money from the banks. This is what Obama got behind. He got behind that piece of legislation. It's like, oh, we're going to solve this, right? And let's make sure we have plenty of input from the banks. So again, I ask you, why would you think the Democrats would actually stop? The Democrats are engaged in their own corruption, right? Plenty of them get money from the exact same sources. So I mean, I don't know. Like, why would I expect the Democrats to actually dispense justice here? It's baffling to me. Why would you? Go ahead.
Well, so I agree with your assessment. That's why I lean towards is like, I would want the Democrats to actually grow a backbone, and actually be more aggressive, and pretty much do all the things that Greg was just outlining a few moments ago. I'll try to throw the book at Republicans to hopefully get them to see the error of their ways. But yeah, should you expect that from Democrats? I don't expect it, but I guess I try to remain optimistic. But maybe I'm just naive or stupid.
Yeah, I think the difference is like a lot of people do want this whole thing to be about going after these guys. We have to make it so that this just doesn't happen again, where you have the same playbook for each party, where you can't be the Republicans are allowed to break every rule, and the Democrats are being held to this heightened sense of like scrutiny for everything, So I think that you see it like in the California governor's race, even coming in, like Barrera's, talking about over and over and over again about like one of those main things that he's talking about is like how he took the case to Trump and he prosecuted Trump for all these different things. I think he's the attorney general right now. And so I think that it's just like as a sign of things to come. I think it's going to be like the main point of the next election is going to be exactly this. How much do we go after these guys? What do we do? I don't see a kumbaya person winning the primaries. I just don't see that happening.
I think Joe Biden sort of attempted to do that, not like a little bit.
That was the olive branch. That Joe Biden was the olive branch and was that non-threatening candidate that was like, obviously from DC. It didn't have this firebrand that could have been this healing moment, and MAGA not only didn't take the bait, but they just
they doubled down
with
like
it.
they just
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Joe Biden was, I mean, he's been in the Senate since like the 70s or the 80s.
40 years.
Yeah. And he still is one of these Democrats that talk about his colleagues on the right and how he's hoping for the fever to break, right? Which is this nonsense that Obama would say as well. And he was all about the process, and at the very least, he was better than Obama because he put more effort into packing the courts with Democrats. So I'll give him that one. But overall, he talked about Trump as if he was extraordinary, right? That he was some aberration, and once he's gone, right, now that he's gone, from his perspective, now that he's gone, well, now we can get back to the serious business of governing with the Republican Party that's lost his goddamn mind, completely out to lunch, gone, right? And has been that way for a long time. The people of Joe Biden's generation, that type of lawmaker, one, they're still in power. Two, they've made it clear they don't have anything. They want nothing to do with actually confronting Republicans with power politics, right? That's been the new generation that's been pushing that. So hopefully that goes somewhere. And this paradigm among Democrats to be worrying about process. I mean, part of it I think is that they want the power too. They want the power to do the things that Republicans have done, right? Like, Bush expanded the power of the presidency significantly, right? And people are waiting for Obama to shrink it. He did, He wanted to be able to do the signature drone strikes too, right? He wanted that power, and so he definitely didn't want to like prosecute anyone for it, right? Or even say tell Congress, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. This should be your power or whatever, right? He wanted to do all that, and you're talking about like, oh well, now the country is hungry, right, for retribution and justice. Well, the country lost its house in 2008, like a huge swath of people were on the streets. Generation of wealth wiped out. They were wanted blood back then. They wanted blood, and they got nothing. The Democrats responded to none of that. So again,
yeah, I think that Obama was trying to be kind of like above the fray, you know.
Josh
And
Shapiro is going to be the same. Josh Shapiro is running for. He's the governor of Pennsylvania, but he's clearly running for it. Yeah, he's going to be the exact same. He likes to style. He wants to like do the Obama cadence and all that, right? He's trying to do the whole thing. He's pretty crap. And then there's also Gavin Newsom. He wants to do the exact same thing, even closer to Republicans, though. He likes to talk about how Republicans have such great ideas, right? That's share the Biden playbook. And he goes on podcasts with the conservatives and talks about how right they are on so many issues, right? So again, where are the fighters?
Yeah, no, like, and this is where it's like, well, how many times can you be stabbed like in the back or in the face before you learn your lesson? Because like, recall if I remember correctly, like when Obama came into power, like the whole talking point I think from like Mitch McConnell's like we have to make him like a one-term president. We have to do everything we can to like make sure that Obama's like a one-term president. And it's like, well, why would we not take the same, like they're clearly like Republicans are out for blood. They want to do everything to like limit Democrats' power. I don't know why, like, you would extend that olive branch over and over when they literally like they make it explicitly clear that they have every desire to do whatever it takes to sabotage you, and they'll take whatever loophole they can. Going back to again the Supreme Court picks with under Obama, it's like, ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to see. You know, I mean, I hope that. I guess I see like Gavin Newsom as more adversarial to Trump, but I do think that like in general, I mean the path forward for the Democratic Party is going to be wrestling with the idea of like what constitution do we play with? Do we play with the Constitution of 2028? Where it has expanded presidential powers, how you have this presidential immunity thing, you have this ability for the president to basically take the entire budget and change it, and, like let's say a, president comes in, Democrat comes in and says, hey, the power of the purse through the OMB, our obesity epidemic is a national security threat. So through the, Department of Defense, I'm going to orchestrate with Medicare to allow everyone to sign up. So starting tomorrow, everyone can sign up for Medicare. Like that is in the power of the new Constitution that we play with, man. And that is literally as long as it's national security related, he can do the president can do whatever they want, and. So, or are we going to go back to like, okay, what we should do is, this really strict idea of like passing these bills and these legislation, and I don't know. It's really frustrating to me. Like I'm a huge proponent and I love democracy, but I don't know if like the old Constitution works with today's media landscape and social media. I don't know if I don't know if that's how you actually get the bully pulpit to be on your side. So I think politicians are going to always go towards this kind of like unitary executive theory is what it's legally called, where it's like basically we have like these quasi kings that you can just do whatever they want.
Well, I mean, Trump seems to just rule largely by executive order, from what I can tell.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you pass legislation?
I mean, I think I've also made my point, but I just got to say one more thing, right? Like
Mhm.
the reason we even got a Trump 2, the reason we even got a second term with Trump is because of the failure of the Biden DOJ, right? And Merrick Garland.
Mhm.
True.
We had Trump dead to rights with, the coup and all the other things that he was involved in
But
terms
didn't
of
but didn't
the
want to appear partisan or like the optics.
yeah, and the documents, right, that were in his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, right, the top secret documents that he would show people as like a party trick to say, hey, look at all the classified information I
Yeah.
have, right? I would impress you. Trump did that. We knew he did it,
Mhm.
and Merrick Garland sat in his hands for 2 whole years. And then only after Trump, or just either just after Trump announced, or a bit before, I forget the timeline here. That's when he's like, oh, well, maybe something should be done about this, right? He hands the Republicans the perfectly reasonable talking point that this is just political. I mean, like, all of a sudden, this wasn't a problem previously, and all of a sudden you're charging them, right? It was a perfectly reasonable a talking point to say that. So yes, the prosecutor starts. He hires a special prosecutor, but literally, he just ran out of time, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, Republicans were going to slow walk this as much as possible, and even then, even before that, right? Like at the time, if we remember back to 2021, just after January 6th, right? The Republicans, the elected Republicans, the GOP was terrified as to what happened here. They were calling it a coup. They were out for blood as well, right? But the
Mhm.
Democrats, led by Biden, let it all slip through their fingers, right? Like they didn't, like, attack when they had the chance here. And the Republicans regrouped, right? Their daddy started calling them and yelling at them, and then they got into line, and all of a sudden the narrative changed from the people like Lindsey Graham, who was again out for blood because he's a terrified little bitch. So when he was
True.
when the people were after him, like when they were invading, right? Like he was one of the first ones, like running for cover. Like he's just like a little. Sorry, I won't say the words when I think about that man. But in any case, right? But he was on television talking about like something must be done, right? And then his daddy called, and then he's like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about. Those are patriots. Obviously, they were coming to give me a hug, and I was the only two. People were holding me back. I went to hug them too, right? That's the thing that's that happened. And so, like, rather than striking at that time when you had unanimous support across the aisle, the Democrats sat in their hands. The country, the world watched that coup happen, right? The world was with us and shocked and horror. The Democrats did absolutely nothing. Merrick Garland sat in his hands, and then by the time he finally unleashed the special prosecutor, yeah, literally ran out of time, and Trump will get away with it. Done. Democrats did that again.
I
No
think
hope that they're going to actually do anything different this time. I keep
I think
giving more
like
examples because there's so many.
I think the black pill man is that like it's not necessarily it's the Democrats' fault. Like the Democrats are a reflection of the broader populace's
No,
lackadaisical,
no,
like yeah.
no,
I think that's
no.
I think that is like the big problem that a lot of
They
people
wanted blood after
don't see.
2008. Stop this. Stop running counter for them. They wanted blood after 2008, the financial crisis, when they lost their homes. They wanted blood after the invasion of Congress. People sat in
Mhm.
horror watching. I was there. I remember this not too long ago, right? The audience remembers this. They sat in horror as that happened, right? They watched the Iraq War happen, right? And the country completely turned against it, and the election of Barack Obama, right, was on the question of the Iraq War. Nothing was done, right? Like, what are you talking about? Please, like, don't run cover for them. No, the population understood. They got it. The Democrats were unresponsive.
I mean, I think that it's for sure there was like a if there were more people that agreed with you, me and you, like in I agree with you. I think that
Polling in the
if there was
80%.
more people, I think if there was more people that were going and voting in the elections with our viewpoint, that there would have been more fiery Democrats. I just think so, man. I
No,
really do,
no, it's
man.
the opposite.
I
Sorry,
really
no,
do.
it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
But
It's
like,
the
but
opposite.
I think like
It can't be.
but
No, we already did the voting. We did the voting. We did
I
the
know,
voting.
but I'm saying though, like that there would have been more. It sucks. Like I think what sucks is that like people, and this is the problem, is that people don't advocate. The Democrats don't advocate for these positions. We what we think is the majority position, and we see each other and we can like see like, okay, what's up, but then we don't like advocate for that position in like our uh like in our media. So like for example, like how many people were actually advocating for the vaccine during the pandemic? Like nobody. We kind of like all took it for granted. They're like, oh, once the
People were
vaccine's done,
advocating for the
we have
vaccine.
it.
Of course they were.
I don't.
Of course they
I
were.
don't. I
Of
was
course they
not.
were.
I did not see
we had a
people.
whole government apparatus.
Weren't there like stickers of
doing
like I
that.
got vaccinated and all that stuff?
But
Yeah,
dude,
there was a whole movement about this.
but the sticker campaign, like that's what you. But versus the entire media, the alt media, sphere
was
of like how they can
entire
frame
campaign.
this
There
stuff.
was
And
an education campaign. I don't know what you're talking about. There was an
I
education campaign about this. Of
I
course.
saw I saw like the only when I did see commercials, it was like pharmaceutical companies. It was like Pfizer and Moderna, stuff. It wasn't like people going and advocating for these things necessarily. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it,
was
man.
there
I don't know.
talking to real people as it was happening, right? I got a lot of feedback on the situation. It was absolutely an education of the populace happening. Now, but
Didn't
like,
Biden run on like, I don't know, was it like 100 million doses in 100 days or something like that? Or I could be
yeah,
wrong.
like the government, like I just want to, please don't have me here defending Biden, but like that's the thing that happened, right? Like
I know you're a big fan. I
that was
see
the
all
case. The problem, you're saying like, oh, we have to just vote harder on this. No, like Democrats have to actually do something worthy of the vote. This is actually.
I think
oh my god, this is
no. I think that people no.
Isn't Democrat popularity like at all-time lows or like
the
super low?
problem
all-time lows?
is,
Of course they are.
The people that feel like us, Prime, the problem is that they don't see people that reflect their values, so that they don't vote at all. So then people aren't like us that are like us don't go.
Election. Let's not forget that, right? I voted, but like not for president, because once again the Democrats did not actually deliver. So like here's the order of operations. Democrats deliver, right? You advertise what you delivered, and then the voters will come. That's how that works. Not the other way around. It's not
that's not how
promises. It's not promising to just do what was done before, right? Which the people were obviously upset about, right? It's not saying the other team is worse, and so like well, you got to vote for us. No. The problem is that like Democrats have been feckless this entire time. You're just saying, well, more people just need to vote, right? No, they did vote. They voted in 2008. They got Obama in for 2 years, right? The perpetrators escaped justice, right? Biden came into office, right? Hey, they voted. They did the thing, right? Nothing was done. Trump gets back into office. Trump is a response to Democratic fecklessness. That's what that looks like, right? That's the anger that was within the populace, right? There's lots of different types of anger there, but part of it was that the democratic system failed, right? And part of that democratic system is a Democratic Party. They let them down. And so they turned against them, and they'll do it again. That's the thing. They'll do it again. People think right now, oh my God, Trump's he's so unpopular, right? The Republican Party's brand is in the toilet. They'll never recover from this. No, what will happen is they'll elect the Democrat in next time, right? That Democrat, Josh Shapiro, Gavin Newsom, will fail. Will do exactly what I just spent the last 20 minutes talking about, right? They'll fail again. And then as a response, when people have lost hope, they'll try someone else. Like, well, the Republicans can't be that bad, because the memory of the populace in general is actually quite low, right? That time span. But in any case, yes, they'll go right back. They will. They absolutely will. This isn't the end of the Republican Party. And so,
But
but that rests on democratic fecklessness.
but the answer is like not just to vote in 2008 and then 2016. The answer is to vote in 2008, and then if they're not actually fulfilling what you want, to vote in 2010, to vote
And yes,
people out and
and to
primary
reward them, put
them,
them back
and
in
to vote
office,
even harder to
just to
get
reward
even
them.
new
Yeah,
and to get
they,
new candidates in, and to actually like get people in that you like that agree with you, and then vote in 2010, and then vote in 2012, and then vote in 2014, and don't what
yeah,
happens with Democrats is
vote
that
harder.
people like take time off, and then they come back and they're like, what'd you do? And it's like, well, you didn't have a bunch of power. And it's like, well, where were you guys? And that's the idea, man, is like to constantly be voting out
To vote
MAGA
harder,
and vote better candidates
vote
in, and we
harder.
just don't do that.
I hear you. Vote better candidates in, right? Also, ask nothing of the candidates who were
No,
there
I'm saying to
previously, right?
primary
Like
them, primary the
I'm
bad
saying, hold on,
candidates with more progressive ones.
sorry,
That's fine.
look, and this is liberal uselessness that I'm used to, right? So this idea that like, hey, I'm just going to tell the population, I'm going to break the population, say, why didn't you vote more? Why didn't you vote more? Look, if that was going to do it, if berating the population and telling them to vote more was going to work, it would have worked at some point, right? In the past, because that's never done. That's never been the case. Like
Dude,
just telling people to vote harder has never worked. There are people who need to be inspired, right? Doesn't matter, right? Like if you think, well, yes, the Republicans, right? They're so much worse, right? Or the Democrats gave a wish and a promise, right? Shouldn't that be enough for you? It's not enough for them, right? I'm speaking like from their perspective there. It's not enough, right? The only thing that does it is actually delivering for them. That's what does it, right? And so you can hope and you can pray and you can demand that these individuals like just show up because the Democrats are manifestly better. They don't care. They're checked out. The Democrats will lose again.
yeah, I mean, it's not about like lull liberalism. It's about like leftists being pragmatic and actually trying to get like move things forward and actually use our
Yeah, vote
vote to
harder.
make like actual change, as opposed to just like sitting on our hands and then saying like, is there a revolution yet? And then like, nope, there isn't one. And then just sitting back and be like, okay, well, I guess we'll just wait. Like
I
that's the
never said
idea.
anything about what was my prescription? I didn't say anything about revolution. What was my
No, but
prescription?
I'm not saying that you said that, but I'm just saying that like that this seems to, it just is like a defeatist attitude of like being able to like you vote pragmatically. I think that's the real problem with like
People
leftists
don't do that though.
they
People
don't
don't do
vote
that.
they don't exactly, and that's what I
Why?
think is the problem.
And but hold on. But they don't vote pragmatically. You keep saying like that's the problem, but that's not a thing
Yeah.
that can be changed. People don't vote in the way that liberals demand that they vote, right? In which we demand nothing more of our politicians other than them having the D in front of their name, right? They don't do that. They simply don't. They don't. They don't. They don't. They never have, right? And so, understanding that they don't do that, how can we get them to the polls, right? We
Mhm.
have to inspire them. Obama inspired them. He did, right? And they believed his rhetoric, right? And then he, disappointed. But they believed, and then all of a sudden, and then we're surprised that Trump comes into office afterwards. Amazing, amazing. They believed. I think honestly, I think the only reason Biden won is because of COVID. I think otherwise Trump would have won. Like, there's no reason to believe
Probably.
otherwise. Um,
Yeah.
but still, he got into office, right? A coup happened, and no justice took place. So again, people have lost faith in institutions completely, right? Democrats have not like come in and restored faith. They've just shown, yeah, those institutions were worthless, right? And so there's who is there to defend these institutions in this very moment? Why would anyone? Why would anyone bother? They failed them continuously.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it's the best that we got. Even if it's flawed and bad, it's still the best that we have in order to like actually make like change in over problems that we see in the world, you know, together. I mean that's why it like even if it's bad and it's been poor, it's still the best that we have.
Okay.
It sucks, man. I mean, it sucks. I mean, there's like sometimes there's no good candidate, and sometimes there's like, but what I don't see is like a
Don't
lot
expect votes
of
when there's no good candidate, though, right? Don't expect
yeah,
votes.
but like, but nobody is going to be everyone to everyone. You know, like
Yeah,
no candidate is
hold on,
gonna.
I didn't ask for that. I didn't say that, and I didn't mention that at all, right? I'm just saying, don't expect votes. Like that'll be a thing. Yes, you're correct. Well, there'll be bad candidates, right? Like
Mhm.
who make it through. That's the fact how the system works, right? But also, like when that happens, we should also not expect votes. Like the Democratic Party is presenting to the general electorate a bad candidate, right? And so then a bad candidate should not expect votes, right?
Mhm.
And also
I
to
mean,
the point that brought up earlier, Democrat, like even despite all of the Republican actions, like Democrats are like at historic lows in terms of approval. Like that says something, or at least I think that does say something.
yeah, basically, I think like I think that you should try to. I mean, it sucks, dude. I mean, the normal recourse to this is, you know, like not trying like voting pragmatically at the national level and voting as radically as possible at the local level. You know, like that is kind of like the pragmatic voting solution. But the real thing is that like I feel like we are at a precipice, especially with the presidential power, where it could go, you know, one like you know pretty hard line like I really see the future of the United States like being like a right wing fascist, white Christian nationalist government, or like something where we actually utilize these powers of the presidency to enact like things like single payer, climate
Mm.
change, you know, redoing our foreign policy ideas, you know,
I
like
agree with the
I can.
first part, not the second part. I agree that yes, it could be right wing fascism. Like I mean, we're the place we're heading is very dark. Absolutely, right? A
Mhm.
JD Vance presidency would absolutely be disastrous. Or a Marco Rubio presidency would absolutely be disastrous, right? But I don't. I disagree with the second half, where like all of a sudden, will the Democratic Party will um, take on common solutions, like understood solutions, like Medicare for all. Like literally, the
Mhm.
Democratic Party has been fighting it themselves, right? They've been fighting that. They've been trying to stop that kind of progress, stymieing it in a myriad of different ways. So I don't see that. I see probable backlessness. Now I'll do my part in that, like I'll try to support candidates that I think will, right? Like I actually like I said, I believe in the primary system. I think that's where the
Yeah,
focus needs to be. Is to
I think.
present a good candidate, right? Um, but
But we
like,
do that. But if we do that, my point is like if we do that, the Democrats do that, then the fascists win, and we that is the future.
sorry, the Democrats focus on the primary.
No. Sorry, no. If the Democrats focus on like complacency and not
Oh,
actually trying
complacency, yeah,
to, yeah,
agreed.
then it's like then that is the future. That there is no future other
I'm
than
just
that.
saying
So
complacency is more likely than anything else because that's been the Democratic Party for literally decades.
I
Like
I
that's
agree with you.
there's
I
no
agree.
reason to
I
think
think
that pattern will
yeah.
break. Is
I
what I'm
think
saying.
like there's probably a 75 80% chance that it's like a right wing white ethno state future for the
No,
United
no, no,
States.
no.
And I
Again, I agree with that part. I'm saying that's the other
yeah.
part, right? In terms of the Democratic Party, there's no reason to think that the Democratic Party won't be like if a one in terms of the candidate they actually put forth to the people, right?
Mhm.
Will that be a one someone who's actually going to do real change? That's very much unlikely. Not impossible. Not impossible. In
Mhm.
fact, like if I thought it was impossible, then I wouldn't even bother discussing it, right? Like, who cares?
Sure.
If it's like a fait accompli, right? Like, it's not
Hmm.
though, right? The future is yet to be written. So once again, I think we should be focusing on the primary but then that would actually require the Democrats to understand the failures of the last election, the failures of the last few decades. They refused to actually engage with it. And in fact, they buried the report, the Democratic autopsy, right, of the last election. They don't want to talk about it. Why? Because Israel comes up a lot in that report, and they don't want to talk about that at all. But in any case, they would have to actually recognize that. But let's say that they did. Well, then yes, there might be hope. But until that happens, until they actually the party as a whole has that reckoning, no, there's no reason to expect anything differently. Why? Why would the pattern break by itself?
I think because people are really sick of it, man. I really do. I really do
Like in
think that there is
2008.
like something different. And I think it's a lot different than 2000. I think like it's more than 2008 because I
Yeah,
think
people are
it's
still
a
in their
lot
homes
harder.
rather than 2008. Yeah.
But it's a lot harder. That absolutely did happen. But I do think that was like harder to like wrap your mind around. It's more like visceral.
When they were thrown out of their homes, that was difficult for people to wrap their minds around. When
Like I mean
when
that was like the foreclosures were happening, and I'm not trying to go like they were happening, but I feel like the pernicious like ICE raids and all the ways that Trump has impacted our society is way more in depth than the financial collapse like that happened in 2008.
That's a ridiculous statement. That's a ridiculous statement. Many
Okay.
people don't know a Latin individual who's actually been arrested, right? Many people haven't seen an ICE detention themselves, right? They may have seen something on the news, right? People knew their friends and family being thrown out of their homes, right? Who lost everything, right? Like that, like literally, economics is the thing people vote on the most, more than anything else, right? And that hit people in their pocketbooks, right? That was recognizable. It was on TV. It was nonstop, and it was a global event. What are you talking about? How would that hit less hard than the ICE raids that are happening in random communities that you can easily not be a part of, that you can easily miss? What are you talking about? That's the scope.
Because
What is the scope?
because Trump has like impacted a lot of like our society. I mean, it's a lot, man. Like and we've had
It was called the global
it's
financial
very
crisis.
pernicious. Like it's very pernicious. A lot of people have been like touched by Trump's administration in a lot of different ways, man.
Okay, that's like you're doing some hardcore cope now. Like it's just like unbelievable. But but we'll just have to move past this point. Like it's too much. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think, Corey?
I mean, I can understand the point that maybe okay, the ice raids might have induced some sort of like visceral reaction, but like it's hard to ignore like the global like it affected Canada as well, and and I was alive around that time. Um, yeah, like I think.
I mean, it caused millions of people to lose their jobs. I'm not like downplaying.
No, I know you're not downplaying it.
But I'm just saying that like Trump has impacted everything. Trump has been like a part of the culture and like infested every part of every aspect of everyone's life for the last 10 years. I mean, it's like a lot different than like a financial collapse of bankers that you don't know the names of, that you don't know, like you don't know their faces. They're basically they're not like in front of you every day. Bernie Madoff happened, and like that was kind of like a weird thing where people kind of like, hey, we got one of them, but like he didn't actually. It was like a Ponzi scheme that was like small beans compared to like the fraud that these banks did. But I think that like people are way more mad about Trump than like Occupy Wall Street happened, but like I mean, people still don't really understand what actually happened in the financial collapse. It's wild.
Just to clarify, do you think people are more mad like now, or like they have been more mad for the past 2 years? Because then it's hard for me to make the case that how did Trump win then? Because like that madness did not result in Trump losing.
I think that the sad part is that people aren't like they don't the vast majority of people don't think what Trump is doing is that big of a deal. But what's even sadder is that I don't think that like I think that even less people cared about the financial collapse. That I mean that's I just don't think that a lot of people knew.
That's such
but
cope. What are you
like
talking about? Sorry, go
so
ahead.
Yeah.
so I think we were all alive during Obama's campaign. Like there was,
Mhm.
let's say, people I think were much more highly motivated to vote for Obama at that time. And like there was way more like, let's say, I don't know about optimism, but more enthusiasm um, for him at that time as a result of like, yes, the charisma of Obama, but also like what was happening at that time of like 2008 and the global financial crisis.
That's crazy. People weren't like this is the argument you have to fit in here, right? That people weren't so bothered by the 2008 financial crisis, the global recession. That like you have to make the audience here believe that I mean it was a big thing, sure. I mean people lost their jobs, they lost their homes, they lost their pensions, right? They lost their retirements, they lost their futures, right? They lost the ability to provide for their children, right? Like the wealth like that was lost, like didn't come back, like for the next year, like that affected millennials, right? Like that, like the timeline shifted for millennials hard, right? And you have to say that, oh yeah, that wasn't as big of a deal, actually. Like that's your argument. That's your argument.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of people that have been impacted by Trump's economy and what Trump has done as well. Like I would say that it's even more. Yeah, it's even more pernicious. Yeah. I mean, we have like scientist and engineer jobs in California that are worse right now than 2008. Like how many people are talking about that? You know, like there's massive layoffs that are happening right now. There's massive like
What do you
capital
think happened in the
expenditure.
global recession? Do you think people kept their jobs, or do you think people lost their jobs in a global recession where there was a massive credit crunch? What do you think happened?
But of course, they lost their jobs.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, of course, yeah.
Across so mostly the job you're talking about lay in the tech sector, right? That's where the biggest losses happen. There've been some in some other places, right? The global recession was a global credit crunch, right? Liquidity dried up. The banks who had just got bailed out weren't lending, and so businesses across all sectors that need that liquidity, right? Because many businesses do payroll through small business loans, right? They weren't getting those business loans, and so they couldn't make payroll, and they collapsed, right? So that was across sectors.
And tech and the stock market, I think, is still largely doing pretty okay.
In terms of
And now,
profit,
Mhm.
certainly.
yeah, now how long that will last, I guess we'll find out. Hard to say, but I think as of now, I think even Trump brags about whatever record highs in the stock market. Pam Bondi, I think, was also bragging about that during her hearing. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. Just
Okay,
Mm.
we can talk about something else. That's fine. I think we've made our points. Yeah.
well, we can do like I think we were all alive in 2008.
Mhm.
Like I don't like yeah, we can compare how we feel now to like if we remember, but yeah, from my subjective experience, like I feel like 2008 was a little bit more of a big deal and more of a global impact at the time than like what currently not to say like what is happening now is like awful and bad. I'm just talking more like the overall like aggregate effects type of thing.
There's like it was like a bigger acute failure, right? It was fast and it was hard. Like I just looked at the unemployment rise. It rose sharply to 7.3%. We're at 3%. Like right now. So like it's measurably way more unemployment. I think that yeah, obviously a lot of people lost their jobs, but I guess what I'm saying is that I think after like 10 years of this, of being inundated and like suffocated by the Trump administration, and it feels like Trump is like, and it's going to be basically like 15 years that this guy like is in our lives and controls all of our media, all of our like seemingly like our government, like all that kind of stuff. I think that it feels like way more suffocating now, after 15 years of Trump versus like an acute economic crash that happens in 2008. But then the stock market did recover. The economy with Obama did pretty well. Like Obama did pretty good about actually like taking the shambles that George W. Bush handed him and actually like recovering it pretty decently. So it wasn't 15 years of constant like economic strife that happened after 2008.
The economy was good for Trump in his first term. Once again, COVID is a thing that lost him the election. It wasn't the economy. The economy did fall off the end, but again, that was due to COVID. People thought that the economy would be his strength. Like when they reelected him, I don't think Biden actually did that bad in terms of the economy. I think that was overblown, right? And I think you'd probably agree with that, right? On this talking point about like how awful the Biden economy was, right? I think that was overblown to a certain extent. But like on the other hand, people like a segment of the population voted for Trump because they thought he'd be better on the economy. Now they were tragically wrong, but like that's not, and like judging it the global financial crisis by like the cleanup that happened afterwards, right, ignores the actual crisis we're talking about. Yes, there was a cleanup that happened indeed, right, and badly, right, could have been much better, but that gets away from the point of like how bad the public felt at the time. But in any case, right, the one thing I will say, right, reaching on Olive Branch, is that there's a possibility, and it's hard to say from this point in time, right, looking into the future, but there's a possibility that Trump like almost single-handedly sends us into another recession, right, through his trade war, and then through now the Iran war causing the global oil shortage. That in itself may trigger a recession, and so a global one. I don't know how bad that would be, right? Because the economy is a bit more tricky with this. In terms of our reliance on oil, it's not what it was like in the 70s, for instance, when that oil crisis happened. So it's really tough to say, like what sectors will be hit, right? It may not be as big as the global financial crisis. I'm unsure, but again, I'm reaching out. To your point, is that like Trump, being the fool that he is, right, who won't stop talking within a media environment that is very different from 2008, right, where people have more access to what's going on, like rather than like through a TV set, right? It's on their phone, it's on them all the time, right? Like Trump being the drooling moron that he is, that's turning the world against the U.S. That could affect the public in some surprising ways. I mean, his ratings are already in the toilet, right? His public support ratings are already in the toilet. So it could look a bit different, and like where the how people interpret what's going to happen to them within the next 2 years. Maybe they'll feel it's worse. Maybe, I don't know.
I think that like the Democratic Party and the Democrats like thinks it's worse. I don't know if the broader pop thinks that it's the worst.
Oh, Z down.
It's frozen for me too.
Okay.
I guess it's just us then.
But then, yeah, is his TikTok? Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but if he's frozen, then his TikTok is probably frozen. Although they're probably not getting us at the very least. But in any case, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how much more to say on this issue.
No. I mean, I'm on like not to gang up on Greg while he's not here, but I lean more towards your point, especially and it might just be my bad memory, but like, yeah, 2008 felt like a really big deal at the time. And, I'm just saying that as a Canadian too. So
Actually, my understanding is that Canada did actually pretty well.
Yeah, no.
That
Like
yeah.
we navigated it. I think we were like one of the best countries to like
Yeah,
navigate it.
it's actually because of your banking system. You Canada, like I've been like hearing about it, here and there, right? But Canada has an interesting banking system, and that like it's highly concentrated, but like it's also highly conservative
Yeah,
in
we have like
their
3 or 4
practices.
big banks.
Yeah, yeah. It's highly conservative. But like because of that, they weren't doing hey everyone. Right now Corey and I are just talking about like how can you hear us? Dr. Greg, just making
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I mean,
Okay, good. Yeah, sorry, we were just discussing how Canada made it out through the global financial crisis in 2008, and that like they actually did much better than many other countries. But it's because of their banking system and how well it's concentrated but also extremely conservative, and that like they didn't engage in a lot of the risky practices that like destroyed America. But on the other hand, right, and this is something really interesting people are discussing is that Canada doesn't have the dynamism, like the economic dynamism that a lot of countries its size has. And part of that is liquidity, and that like those banks who, like I said just now, they're conservative in their lending practices. Well, that also means, right, that hey, if you're starting a new business, it can be difficult to get like a loan from them. It can be difficult to get yourself established and to raise funds in general, like in terms of the VC environment. Like that's a real problem. And where Canada was a booming economy just a while ago, like punching way above its weight, it's actually fallen way far behind. And so it's really interesting looking at what's happening in Canada right now. But yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely some stagnation. And this was like sort of well, not I sort of already knew this, but I didn't realize how much of a big deal it was. Or at least this is just what goes around like whatever my Twitter algorithm. It's like so here in Canada. So let's say in the United States, and we've had panels on your show, Prime, of like about Cash App and like Venmo. You have all these things to, like transfer money, but like we don't have that here in Canada. In fact, I think like
really?
Cash App is like yeah, but we do have Interac e-transfer, as in like just through like it's but like it's through the Interac system of like just if I give someone my email address, they can just like send me money through to our bank.
Interesting. That's cool.
But we don't have Cash App or Venmo. In fact, I think those apps are like explicitly banned here.
So it's a public utility or
it's like through the banking system of like as in like I'm with the Royal Bank of Canada, and like I just send someone either my telephone number or email, and they just like whatever send me money through whatever their bank.
Oh wow, Canada's GDP grew 1.7% in 2025, the slowest pace of annual growth since the 2020 decline.
Yes, there's definitely some stagnation here.
With lower exports, particularly to the U.S., being the main drag. Yeah, that's the main problem. Like, what is the main exports of? I've never really looked at the economy.
It's largely
oil,
resources like I think like oil to the United States,
wood.
but then like lumber, aluminum,
Steel,
largely,
yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about
136
steel,
billion, at the very least, yeah, aluminum. Sorry,
minerals, mineral fuels, including oil, is 25% of the exports, which is 136 billion, and then vehicles and parts is around 10%, 58 billion. Machinery, 41 billion, 7%. Gems and precious metals. Dang, so you guys are just mining over there.
They do be
That's
mining.
crazy.
we have lots of lots of natural resources here that are I think largely untapped.
Well, you guys only live in like 10% of the land.
That's been my argument the entire time. We should annex Canada and exploit their
No,
resources properly.
don't annex
Oh
Canada.
my God. Like that's Trump was cooking there.
That line
like,
is very important. I want to maintain that line.
That Trump is cooking. I don't have to tell you, man. Like you guys, there's no one up there. It's an empty. It's like the second or third largest country in the world. I forget which one, right?
I think by landmass it's like second. Obviously Russia's bigger, but I think
Yeah.
If you didn't love us, why are you guys living as close to us as possible? You're
Exactly.
like
No, mostly for the weather. That's it. Like make no mistake.
Like I'm just saying that there's no one in Canada. Like we should just like.
Although I believe I believe over the past few years, like Canada, like percentage-wise, Canada's population has grown at a faster rate than the United States. Our population sort of exploded.
And it's still like a third of ours, right?
Yeah, no. Well, actually, no, like a tenth. As in,
As a tenth.
Yeah, Canada's population is about, I think, 42, or no, I think we recently just crossed 40 million. You're at,
It was 100 million.
no, we're not even.
There's no one there. I was like operating at, it's like a third of our
No, 100 million, that's like Germany or France.
There's
I
no
believe.
one in
There's California?
Canada, guys. It should be just ours.
I think California's like 30 million. I think you're pretty much the entire state of California. Is
Why
Canada.
is it in our country? Why don't we just make it ours? I don't get this, right? Like there's so many resources there. That should be our resources. Like just like why export, right?
F40.
There's no export. We don't have to worry about like export taxes, like tariffs.
Wow.
Or anything like that.
It's the same
In
population.
America. Huh?
40 million. California and Canada, same population.
Yeah.
41.5 Canada and 39.5 in California. That's crazy.
51st state. 51st state. Like
Or you become like the 9th province.
It's true.
Or the 10th province.
It'll give me healthcare, then maybe I'll do that. I mean, I'm open to it.
That's wild. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. That's so insane.
Yeah,
Dude,
no, like
California,
we're about
man.
the 10th.
Jeez.
I think United States population is like 350 million.
Yeah. That's crazy.
We got lots of
I mean,
land.
it's yeah, dude. I don't it's interesting to see Canada like striking up their own sovereignty. It's really cute. You guys are like little bro to Great Britain right now still, as like, you're still the serfs, but it's cool. I mean, it's cool. You're like, you're learning. You're like, but I don't know. It is. I just feel like it's really good to have like more than the United States. For a lot of these countries, I think it's Canada. Like obviously Trump is bad geopolitically for the entire world, but I think that like a more independent like future for Canada is probably better.
Yeah, like given
yeah.
the current state, like I'm glad Canada is looking to decouple from the United States. Not that I'm super enthusiastic of like, whatever, cozying up to China, but China seems more sane. I think a testament to the insanity of the United States is that China appears more sane.
Wow,
Yeah.
the California economy is 76% larger than Canada's, despite a slightly smaller population. It's basically the same.
Well, yeah, but aren't you
Canada
just like the most
exports-
successful state? Like I think
Well,
even
yeah.
just on a global scale, California is like whatever.
fourth largest
fifth-
economy in the world.
Yeah.
Like fourth or fifth, he bounces
Yeah,
between
fourth.
that. Yeah.
Canada exports nearly 3 times more in absolute terms because it's structurally a trading nation. So you guys like settlers of Catan. It's like, you guys are just basically
Yes,
Just-
we're very generous. We give away a lot. You should be happy.
it's true.
You get cheap oil from us.
Which
the
is odd
perspective-
because we are a huge exporter. We're the number 1 exporter in the world of oil.
Oh no!
to-
So like they give us tar sands, and when we process those, right? That's what
Yeah.
That's what they give.
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
But in any case, like from the perspective of a Canadian, the 3 dozen or so that live there, it makes sense that
I'm like half the population of Canada.
it's like, yeah, it's like okay, if Corey goes, like I'm not sure they'll have like the genetic diversity to continue on. So, but anyway, from their perspective, yeah, absolutely, they should be diversifying and breaking away from the U.S. because the U.S. has shown itself to be an untrustworthy partner. Unfortunately, the swing is amazing because like I have lots of criticisms of Obama, as like I've not been shy to share. But right, like in terms of how the rest of the world saw us, right? Like we were never flying higher than with Obama, right? Literally in the
Yeah.
Canadian Parliament, when Obama's his last visit to Canada, standing ovation by the Canadian Parliament and them chanting 4 more years.
What?
That's
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 100%. There's a video of that.
That's
You
wild.
can find that. Yeah, they loved him, right? The world loved him. A person you could do business with, and who gave the impression of a competent leader. My thoughts on him notwithstanding, but like he gave the impression of a competent leader, and people had a level of faith in America, especially after the Bush administration and the disasters that happened there, right? Um, I don't think we've ever gotten back to that, and now, I mean, wow.
I don't think there's any hope. Like, I'm I'm always proudly Canadian. I'm even more proudly Canadian. You know, I have no problem saying I'm so proudly Canadian. I have maple syrup like right here at the ready. Okay, this is maple syrup.
You're like Hillary Clinton and her hot sauce, dude. That's a
maple syrup. Yeah. No. There's nothing better than Canadian maple syrup. Okay,
straight from the tap.
Yes, fresh. It's maple syrup season.
What do you think about being attached to the UK still, though? Isn't that weird?
It's mostly, from what I can tell, like it's all like ceremonial at this point. Like,
so then this is my, I have like a thing that's accidentally going viral on Facebook right now. That's like, I'm like roasting Europe for having so many kings and queens, and I think
it's like calling the UK like a kingdom, like, but they're ceremonial positions at this point.
Then remove them.
Sure, I mean, I'm not opposed, but like
would you be opposed to just like voting on that? Do people even vote? Like talk about this? Like you know, like
not really, because as far as I can tell, there's no, it has no meaningful effect, like until it does.
So this is what I don't understand, dude. This is like the one thing about Trump that has taught me anything is that these like handshake agreements of like, oh yeah, it's just ceremonial. Like, do you ever think in an actual civil war or something, do you ever think that the king would just like sit there and lay down arms and lay down the government and be like, oh, okay, you know, you guys are coming after me, but oh, whatever, you know, like I think that he would
be a civil war, right? You mean Canada against? You mean
like a coup d'état or something? Yeah, like a military coup d'état or something, or something like where Canada, it's like, yeah, it's like within the governmental structure of like, you know, Canada, like the king would fight. Like it wouldn't be a vestigial organ. It would definitely have some thorns to it. So it's like these handshake agreements is so weird to me. Like just get rid of the king and the queen now, if that's what you really think.
I think we just are more civil here and have maybe more. I don't actually. We'll find out, I guess, over the long term. Not that I'll be alive for centuries, but like I think we have maybe more honor than in the United States.
I think it's a level of just like institutional inertia, right? Like, yeah, like they were, you know, part of the British Empire, and yes, they have these ceremonial offices, but like since they're not causing a problem, there's like no reason to necessarily change it until, like Corey said, until there's a problem, right? Like the moment there's actual big scandal, then people like will refocus on it. But like people don't focus on things that aren't problems for them, right? They'll just keep it going.
I'm reasonably sure that like, because like what I can even make this argument. I'm in Quebec, and like Quebec is whatever, a unique province in Canada. But like Quebec is more concerned with like, you know, potentially separating from the rest of Canada than separating from, well, but obviously if it separates from Canada, it'll be separate from the UK. But it's like yeah, I'm highly confident that like if it was if it came to a point or like something changed where it's no longer just, you know, we have these ceremonial figureheads, okay, then like I'm pretty sure Canadians would want some change and to actually assert its true independence from the UK. Yeah, because like it's just aside from like those ceremonial figureheads and like some whatever, some mild procedural stuff, like nothing really spoken about in the UK.
The king has to approve of your prime minister, right?
Yeah, but that's just like whatever. The stamp gets stamped no matter what. Until that doesn't. No.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was saying. Like it's this whole Trump thing has taught me. It's like these handshake agreements don't mean anything, man. And if you look at the constitutions of a lot of these countries, like the king has presiding power over parliament. He can dissolve parliament. So it's like it's not ceremoniously, and the UK actually doesn't have a written constitution, which is like pretty crazy, but it's true. England does not have a written constitution. They have a bunch of like the decisions that have been made, like they have common law, over time,
Yeah.
that is written, but they don't have like a solidified like written constitution. So it's like it's just so it just seems very ephemeral to me and weird to
But yeah, but I think
that
that's an
people have so much
American,
hope.
like, I understand, and like, there's a point to this notion that the Constitution is like this inherently like a good thing, like an actual physical document that you can point to, and it's like things, but like, how's that working for you now? Like, as in like the Constitution, and if anything, I would make the case as of now that it largely like handcuffs you. Of like, yes, is it good to have a document that maybe points to some fundamental values and principles? But at the end of the day, if you want to be around for like whatever 500, 1,000 years, like you have to be able to evolve with the times. Like, and if I would say if you're just handcuffed to this document of like, this is what the father, like, is get to the point of like, this is what the founding fathers wanted 2,000 years ago. You're gonna be having that argument, like that's I think that's that would be a ridiculous argument to have, 5,000 years from now.
Yeah, so it's crazy. In the 2008 Heller decision for the Second Amendment, they were talking about like where the Second Amendment came from, and it's basically some like 1538 common law. like Scalia is in the oral argument talking about like what these guys meant in like literally like 1538, and it's so funny because then you have like literally hundreds of American bills in the United States that have been okayed by judges in America, saying that these types of legislation in order to regulate firearms is completely legal, but yet like Scalia is like talking about some 1538 document. It's just very weird.
Right.
I don't know. I think the idea with the Constitution is that it gives you like is something that you can kind of like move forward with. I mean,
but you're not. Like, at least I don't.
Well, like, I mean, I think you're right in the fact that there's been a big problem in the United States is that I would argue that one of the problems that we are in and why we are here is because we haven't continued to amend the Constitution. Like we haven't been able to like have like a amendment for
but the bar is
rights
so high,
and stuff like
right?
that.
That's like virtually like
I
don't think
definitely
anybody.
agree with you, Greg. Yeah, I think you're right there, Greg. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I don't think there's any expectation. Like, I think it's more or less seen, like, or viewed at, like, it's impossible to amend the Constitution to the point. Like, it's just like...
It's like 75% of states. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much impossible as it stands. And we have some structural issues that keep us from moving forward, right? One of the biggest being the Senate. The Senate's a disaster. Where, like, a small amount of population, right? And the more backwards looking percent of the population has a much greater effect on politics because of the Senate. The Senate's a complete mess and needs to be reformed, but it takes a constitutional amendment. There is like
the filibuster.
Well, I wasn't talking about the filibuster. I mean, filibuster.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Senate in general. The very structure of the Senate. The filibuster is just a rule.
Yeah. It's just a common, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like each state getting equal representation in the Senate is an absolute, complete disaster. It should be proportional representation, like to the population, because now like a minority of the country has a disproportionate say in how the country is run, and it's a complete and utter mess. And it stops a lot of legislation that will help us move forward or just be more responsive to the people and what they actually want. The Senate's where good legislation goes to die. So that's a big issue. There is, the fact that we don't have equal rights amendment, for our women, right? Mm-hmm. And like the economic loss for women because they aren't protected, in the same way, right? Like, it's weird, for how the laws are set up. Like we don't necessarily have laws that say like women should be treated differently, but we don't also have laws we also don't have it like written within the Constitution that they must be treated the same. and so like their protections can get chipped away at. Anyway, they're because they aren't operating at their full capacity, women, right? Because of their structural barriers, that's a level of dynamism that's lost within our economy. There's a whole list of things that should be changed. So again, I'm just like, all I'm doing here is agreeing with Dr. Greg here, and that
How dare you?
yeah, and that like the Constitution needs to be changed. And I think Corey, it's an interesting idea what you were saying previously, and it's not an idea I've necessarily heard of, but being American brained, but talking about how like the Constitution handcuffs us, I've had thoughts about like our lack of ability to amend it, but like thinking about like, well, wouldn't it be strange to be like pointing to these documents in a few centuries? But to be fair, actually, that's exactly what England does. England actually does that, though, right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
that's
it
how
happens.
England, yeah, like England, like points to decisions made, right, and like 1203. They'll point to like a decision, like literally, that's how they work.
But they're not
So
upholding this document of like this is the foundation of which our entire country is built upon. At least from what I understand. Like I agree with you. Like there's some similar rhetoric, but like it literally is like the Constitution is like the supreme law of the land type thing.
mhm.
But yeah, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's interesting idea of the Constitution as handcuffs. I'll have to like play with that idea in my head a bit more. But something interesting.
Because like the way I view it, and this is just my analysis, which like could be totally incorrect. Okay, but like I, I think it's useful like to use analogies and like the evolution, like how can a country evolve? Well, the way I view it is like, well, how does a person like evolve? Like, I think part of growing up as a person is like the foundational principles that I had when I was like 6 years old are different than what I have now. And like, I had to amend and change things. I had to, and like, I don't think you should be like so committed to something that is like unchangeable, especially like as a person. Like, you should be open.
Well, we're not committed to it to the point that's unchangeable. That's not the case, though,
Well,
right?
I think
The
it's
Constitution changed.
yeah, it's de facto at this point unchangeable. But like yes, there could be some sort of dramatic societal shift. Okay, but I think as of now, like it's like not amendable currently. And if
Yeah.
it's like if it's at that state for like 100 years, it's like I think you are handcuffed. Just like there's no room for updating. And like just like a person should evolve in updating their principles, even their foundational ones. I think a country needs to be able to do the same thing. Not to be able to just. That's why I framed it as like handcuffs. Is like, well, yeah, to have these debates over and over again on a document like 500 years in the future would just seem, yeah, like I said, strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think people in even the Supreme Court will talk about like the idea is to try to understand what the framers like intended in their speech, but like
That's like me pointing to my mother saying, "This is what my
Yeah.
mother intended for me." It's like, well, who cares? I don't care. Like, what
Yeah.
do I want for me now,
But, like,
today,
I think
2026?
I also think that it's really weird. Historically, there's been a lot of things that have been normal in American history that like politically that happens all the time, and yet we kind of just because it doesn't happen recently in recent memory since like the internet, then we don't really it's not a thing that we think about. Like the filibuster was never a thing. It just really wasn't until the 2008. It just never like was really used. Like changing the Supreme Court seats, like that was completely that happened all the time. Changing the amount of states happened all the time. So like you could literally have like a Democratic president come in and change all of those. Like admit DC and the territories as states. The Dakotas actually got split into North and South Dakotas precisely for in order to have more rural representation. So you could like even split up really populated state like California or something. You could unpack the Supreme Court because the Republicans packed it. The filibuster. You could without even you could just the bylaws. You could just not vote them in. Like there's like there's there's within the Constitution arguments that you could make historically for all of these things, and it's like it's very frustrating that the Democrats haven't done that in the past. But again, I genuinely do feel like I think that this is kind of like where this is where I want to see the candidates actually talk about this stuff. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? Like within our Constitution.
Yeah, because even though, and I think we were having this conversation on your panel just like this past week, probably, but like America has like is the country with like the whatever the longest or the oldest country with a constitution that's like still in use. And it's like
interesting, really.
But then, like, I think historically, the United States as a country is a fairly young country overall in terms of like when it was established and today. Well, you're coming up on like the 250-year whatever anniversary, right? I think relatively speaking, compared to like whatever the British Empire, that's like a fairly young country. But if you're, and I could be wrong, but like if you're having these issues now, like how is that going to play out? 50 years from now or 100 years from now. I know these are it's impossible to predict the future. And that is a fair criticism.
Yeah. It's also just like I don't know, like societies, have dealt with worse. And like they've dealt with worse, right? While having less resources. Like America is an economic powerhouse. And
for now
for now that but even then, right? Like, so yeah, America can be more isolated, right? America maybe can lose the reserve currency status. We've only had that for a few decades. There's no reason to say that will continue on for years, and in fact there's every reason to believe that eventually we will lose that status. But like the fundamentals of the country are just like out of this world. It's just amazing what America has to work with. So I am like there's a level of pessimism, I think, which is overblown, right? Because like this country, its geography, its resources, and its positioning on the world stage is just like phenomenal. And we're doing so much to undermine all that. Fair. Right. But still, there's lots of reasons for hope. So like you're saying, yeah, we're having these problems now. Well, yeah, lots of countries have gone through like big crises and have gotten through that. And again, with so much less. But also in those years, way back when, they didn't have nukes. So,
yeah. But the British Empire was also around for like 400 or whatever, 300, 350, 400 years. My history's not so great. But like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah. But if, again, hard to predict the future. But like if already there's maybe signs, but it could change anything. Oh, like, the United States isolating itself and retracting from the world stage and literally like betraying its allies, its closest ally, Canada. It's like, well, I don't know that. Yeah, you're right.
Not in the same way. Sorry, to be clear, when I say that, right, like, and that like we can reverse course. That doesn't mean the world will ever see us in the same way, right? I think like the damage that Trump has done is permanent, at least for a generation, right? At least for everyone who's like lived through this moment in time, I think it's done, right? Maybe for a new generation that wasn't alive or conscious during this point in time, maybe they won't care, and they'll maybe have more trust for us in the future if we earn it. But like, so I just want to be clear what I'm saying there. But like you can reverse course on what's happening. So I'm saying,
yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. But let's just say, well, yeah, I guess we'll find out. It's gonna be exciting times.
I honestly, man, I think like we have maybe 20 years until there is like mass, like there's going to be mass unemployment from AI. There's going to be like huge, like climate is going to be even worse and like the equatorial regions are going to be even worse for people and plant productivity. I think it's like, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be really bad. I give it like 20, 25 years until it really like gets into like as the government gets more and more unstable and as less and less people are working, the productivity of the United States is going to go down, and you're going to have a huge problem. Our value is already devaluing like a ton, and I think that you're going to see like the debt just be the debt to GDP ratio just increase, and then the United States is just going to go like belly under because of that. I don't see like I don't know. I don't see it. We have to have like massive shifts into taxation in order to get us out of this debt. I just think that it's going to be more and more harder and harder to dig out. Like I don't. It's going to be sad, dude. I think it's going to be really bad. I think the world. I don't think we're really ready for like the AI thing that's going to happen. I think that's inevitable at this point. Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
It's I think that there is like genuinely a way to use AI in a way that isn't harmful to society, and I think that like we have to think of as people that want to progress society forward. Like I think that you have to even think about like how can our institutions be more efficient and be more knowledgeable and be more adaptive, and like things like AI like help that a lot. So like utilizing AI as a tool as opposed to something that people are just against blindly, and I think that that's the wrong tact. I think that you have to like regulate it, you have to harness it, because then maybe, just maybe, like we have kind of like a leverage, that it can be our leverage against the power of not entirely of a billionaire. You know what I mean? Like the power from capital is like its own thing and its own capability, but it's an ability for us to actually leverage our power as like the bully pulpit, or the working class.
It's interesting tracking the sentiments of, let's say, North Americans towards AI versus, from what I understand, at least I haven't looked too deeply into data, but from what I understand, like, people in the United States or North America are generally, let's say, I think, overall negative towards AI, or they don't view it as an overall positive, as opposed to, like, I think if you look at, like, survey data in, like, China, like, they're all, like, on board, as in, like, they can't, like, they view it overall as a positive, and like they really like it, and they can't wait for more of it. I don't know exactly what that says, but I agree with you that whatever, how to deal with AI and the potential instability that's going to introduce is going to be a major problem. But as of now, I see no reason why anything is going to be regulated when it comes to AI. I think Trump is staunchly against regulating AI. Did he pass some sort of executive order saying like don't regulate this like whatsoever?
They've always been like, I mean, obviously the governments, because of the representative style, right, are going to have to be like, they're going to be laggards and like having that mechanism happen. They're not technocrats, right? They are not on the precipice of the technology advancements as it's happening. But like I think as a function of like having really old politicians and AI moving so quickly, that we've like uniquely found ourselves in a spot where these guys like literally 10 years ago just had the internet explained to them by an aide over lunch while they were at Sizzler, and now these same people are supposed to be trying to regulate AI and try to like save us from this these problems that are happening. There's no chance. There's no chance.
I agree. The bigger reoccurring conversation of like, what do we do with this gerontocracy with the United States?
Yeah.
Like, and the
Dude,
age.
people got to get involved, man. People got to vote. People have to like actually get involved, and it's like that's the craziest part. The amount of people that just aren't involved into politics. I don't know. I do think that like you absolutely impact their material conditions, but I don't think that it should be like okay in society to just not vote. It's a consent issue, dude. It's a consent issue for me. These people are having their lives changed irreversibly if in the future, and I need to know what what path you're like want to go on. Like it's a huge problem for me that so few people vote.
Well, I don't. Probably not the time to rehash the conversation about age limits.
I mean, I think voting should be mandatory for that reason, for that consent issue for me.
Fair. I think, yeah, many other countries like Australia have mandatory voting, I believe.
Yeah, you get paid. You should get paid. You should pay you to vote. Get paid $1,000 to vote.
1,000? No, okay, that's actually pretty.
Make it a lot. Make it a good amount of money so that people in the working class, it's actually a good incentive to go, and then everyone who votes gets the $1,000.
Even the fraudulent voters, right?
Yeah, I think that maybe that might not be good for the fraud claims.
Republicans would love that.
Yeah, dude. I think and voting should be on your app. I think you should make a voting on your phone too.
There definitely should be although yeah, I'm all for technology. I think that's a good idea to make it more accessible. But obviously, Republicans don't want that.
Yeah. I don't know if that matters, man. I really do. I think really you could get a lot. Like Trump has really showed that you can really be flex the national security muscle and get pretty much nearly anything done. And you have, not only do you have immunity, you can never face any repercussions for it, but then also nobody can even investigate why you made those decisions or what went into those decisions.
Or the investigation comes much later.
You're immune. You're still immune.
Yeah. No.
That was the Roberts decision. So it's I don't know. I think we have to save the country and the world in this pit that we are heading towards, and it's so depressing because things are science is rapidly improving so many things. We literally have gene therapy medicines that you just inject one time that can cure your genome of a disease that you were born with. Like serious Star Trek shit, man. We're actually doing really cool stuff and understanding how the world works in new ways, and the most basic and the most benign decisions like vaccines, we're debating that stuff. It's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, it is. So then, if I'm understanding you correctly, you are essentially in favor of essentially using this unitary executive theory for democratic purposes. Well, when I say Democratic Party purposes,
I think I think that you have to play the game as it's being played, and it can't be that Democrats play by the 1788 Constitution and Republicans play by the 2025 Constitution. I just don't think that that's fair. I don't think that makes any sense. So, I think I personally, I like more democratic means. I like more, I would put more elements into that, but maybe the democracy is voting this person in, and I don't, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I largely agree with your sentiment.
It sucks though, man. It sucks.
As in, the Democrats, just like the Constitution should not be handcuffs. The Democrats should not handcuff themselves to let's be civil and polite because those were the norms. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
At some point, if one party is rejecting or pretty explicitly making it clear that they are not playing by the rules or they don't care about the norms, why should you?
Yeah, I do I do think there could be after you basically have to have a reconstitution, a reconstruction era. I mean, a reconstruction era of the American institutions, and maybe they are different. That would be a really cool thing for Democrats to kind of talk about in the primary is how do you remake the Department of Education? What do you, make the the NSF, the CDC, EPA? These are completely gone. These things are completely hollowed out. So we could really bring them back in an interesting and new way. What are these things? But
On the plus side of their demolishing, we can rebuild from scratch.
yeah, yeah, dude, for real. I mean, like, I
No, I
think
mean,
like,
that's fair.
but like trying to make, I mean, government should be efficient. We should be proud of it. Like, we should be able to like actually that's the whole idea in a democracy is that your people are kind of like recycling in that the public feels like they represent their values. And I feel like people are in our lifetimes like way more tech forward than our government. Like the DMV should be a place that you're like, wow, this is really very efficient. This is awesomely ran. This is, you know what I mean? Like how you interact with your government should be tech forward, should be elegant, easy, really high ROI. Like, wow, that was amazing. That was really good. Like the best customer service that you've ever gotten at a bank, you should get that at a, you know, through your government every time. I think you really have to focus on stuff like that.
Well, I don't disagree. I think there's a little bit of a problem, or like a built-in problem of like,
Mhm.
because this aspect of you think you mentioned just now of like a high ROI, but like what does that mean? And also like what's your timeline? Because that's where it's like, you know, as I'm sure you know, like investments in science like don't pay off immediately, and if anything,
Well,
they
I meant
probably
like where you go to like have an interaction with a like in like for the DMV or the state or something like that, and it was like, wow, they really helped me out really easily, you know, as opposed to like right now I have this thing with Bank of America. It's like I don't even want to go into it. It's insane. I'm having to go back and forth to the physical bank. I don't even bank at Bank of America, but I have to keep going back and forth at this thing in order to make this account, transfer this money, close this account. It's like it's a huge pain, and like every single thing that I go to takes like 5 days to happen. It's an awful procedure. It takes forever. You know what I mean? That's a very low ROI the position where I'm like, it's painful. Everything takes forever. It should not feel like that with your government. Like it should be, you know, especially with AI, especially with you know, the internet. The institutions should be able to respond quickly.
should, but like that's one of the things of like the infrastructure has to be like constantly upgraded and like worked
Mm-hmm.
on. But like to do that, like here I'll use the analogy of okay, EVs and the infrastructure for EVs. Okay, as of now, like well, for a variety of reasons, having widespread EV adoption in the United States is like pretty much non-viable. And one of the reasons why it's non-viable is because like you don't have the infrastructure there of like charging stations and all that stuff. There was a push, I think, during the Biden administration to like build out this infrastructure. But like, would that happen on Biden's like while Biden was in office? Probably not. As in like investing in infrastructure like that probably takes, you know, I would imagine many years, 5-10 years
Yeah.
timescales. But like that's where it's like Biden would not get credit for that. As in things that
Yeah.
take infrastructure that takes 10 to 20 years to develop, there's literally no incentive. As in, I will not be in office. It's not going to lead to me being more in office because I'm limited by 2 terms. Okay, it's like
Yep.
there's literally you don't get the fruits of your labor. I'm not saying that should be the motivation for a person to invest in infrastructure, but I think that is, let's say, one of the disincentives of like, why would I invest in something that's going to take 10 years to develop when I'm going to be out of office in 8 years?
Exactly, dude. Dude, the infrastructure bill was something that I had heard that George W. Bush wanted to pass. Like I remember that they were like, we're going to get an infrastructure bill. They're lagging infrastructure, you know, constantly since the early 2000s, and like literally George W. Bush, Obama, Trump won, like, and that actually got passed and by Biden. And it's like that was a really huge thing, and it's crazy that it actually got passed and that he actually wanted to spend it well, and he didn't want to just dump it into a bunch of inefficient stuff, you know. But like you said, you know, big huge infrastructure improvements take a long time. But again, for the budget reconciliation bill with the Trump massive omnibus bill, they had to zero out the tax cuts for billionaires, and so they used $400 billion of that money for tax cuts for billionaires. So it's all gone now, which is just crazy. But
Yeah, and I was going to use the analogy of like investing in like I don't see why like just about every country, even including Canada, underinvests in science. But like I understand that like for bad reasons because it's like payoffs in science take 5, 10 years, if not more,
Yeah.
20 years. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be prime minister, and I'm almost certainly not going to be
Yeah.
prime minister in 20 years. So why would I do that? It doesn't lead to anything tangible, and since you can't point to it other than saying I gave money to these researchers, and I'm hoping that in 10, 20 years something happens. That's no,
Yeah, man.
no, no one buys that.
I think like you gotta make things that people see
But this is,
in your term. I think it's
well,
inefficient, even if it takes.
that's a
Even if it
bad.
takes.
I think
I
that's
don't
one of the
think so.
advantages of China. Of like Xi Jinping can point to, like he has every plans to be around for whatever until he dies, probably. I imagine. Okay,
Sure.
or whoever he appoints as his successor. It's like, and China's making massive investments in science. Now I'm pretty sure it's not for well, for a variety of reasons. One is like, yes, I think one of them is like there is the built-in incentive of like, I plan to be around in 10, 20 years, and I will get the credit for that in 10, 20 years, and that will be my legacy. As opposed to, well, if I'm only thinking in 4 or 8 year increments, I'm not going to invest in anything longer than that.
Yeah, I think that's. I agree with you. I mean, it's the game right now is to definitely like get everything passed and implemented in your 4 years, because you need to get it done, because it could be rated by the other party. So even if it's double, even if it's costs you twice as much to get it done immediately, you take that every time. So that's just what's going to have to happen. I mean, it is it's more inefficient, and it increases the cost of everything dramatically, but at the same time it's getting done. And like maybe the rate of technological change means in the end like you're investing early in new technology, and I don't know that maybe that would be some way of getting out of that. But I agree with you that there are like long-term science experiments that you have to invest in for long terms.
Because like from what I understand, like, yeah, United States now more than ever is not investing in renewable energy. Like Trump is
Zero.
against, windmills and whatever
You're
quote unquote
reversing
green
it.
energy. Yeah, exactly. You're going in the
Yeah.
opposite direction. But like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every other country around the world is like moving the opposite direction. But that's because it's like developing countries, like whatever countries in Africa, it's like they are building from scratch. As in they have a choice. Do I invest in solar panels from China, or do I start drilling for oil? Well, I think the answer is pretty clear for many countries, especially now with what's going on in Iran with energy prices skyrocketing, and it's all at the whim of one person in the United States. Well,
Yeah.
might as well invest in some renewable solar energy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's the United States, the inability to like invest long term, and the problems inherent with our Constitution now that Trump has outlined because of the Justice Department being inside the executive branch as opposed to under the Supreme Court, like has basically showed that I don't think that there's any coming back from this. Like there's basically going to be stopgaps of Democratic presidents trying to do their best to trick whatever progress it is, but it's always going to be able to have like that ability for that Republican to just go full fash, and we can't like stop it. I don't know, unless we fix that problem in our Constitution. Like I don't see it. I don't see anything else changing. Like unless I just don't. I don't think the money from the billionaires and stuff like Elon Musk and stuff. They're going to want more and more. And the Republicans are just the party of the billionaires, and they're just going to keep pushing for that white ethno state.
Well, I'm glad I'm in Canada.
It sucks, dude. I don't see. I really don't see that that's going to be just the future that the United States has. I don't know. We have to do dramatic changes in order to get to anything else.
I agree. Well, I'm hoping for both of your sakes and all the American friends and family. Actually, I have friends.
Man.
I have family.
That's why, dude. That's why I'm like so like pragmatic in this. Like that we have to like make like, and we have to be. This is so important. We have to make any progress that we can. Like it's like all hands on deck. Like it's the same level of like hysteria that I have like around everyone should be vaccinated, like everyone should be voting too. You know what I mean? Like we have to have, this is such a crazy point. And it sucks, man, because every election, it seems like everyone's just like, this is such an important election that you need to vote for. And it's like, but like what if it really is this time, you know? And it sucked in 2024 that so many people stayed home and didn't vote, man. Like, and allowed this path to happen. It's awful.
Hey, don't blame me. I didn't vote, but that's because I can't.
It sucks, man. But yeah. But dude, that was a really interesting conversation, Prime. I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna really dive into like the question, just so that we're both on the same page, was what do you think that made the Democrats and the USA, like two different groups, I'm curious, like more upset or mad, like the 2008 financial collapse or Trump as a presidency? Is that how you understood the conversation? I want to like deep dive this. I'm really curious. Maybe it's a bubble thing, dude. I want to learn. So maybe I'm really curious. Is that how you understood the question?
I guess, which one had the bigger impact?
Okay.
But I don't know. It's
Okay.
I don't necessarily know how to measure that, but sure, yeah.
Okay. Impact. Okay, yeah. More mad / impact. Okay.
I mean,
okay.
like,
Yeah, I'm really curious about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of rage, and I think that rage like turned into the Tea Party. Part of it turned into the Tea Party. There's always more than one thing involved in any of these movements,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that not being addressed is one of the reasons why we got Donald Trump, because people didn't believe in our
100%.
institutions.
100%. Yeah. No, it's 2008 was like a huge radicalizing moment for me, man. It was crazy. I mean, it's like the fact that Obama didn't prosecute them is, it just showed that you can just bend the rules and you can really do illegal things and no one is going to punish you if you have enough money. And it's just like it's one of the reasons why I didn't vote for Obama in 2012, dude. Yeah, it's like the only time in my life that I've voted Green Party.
And I would imagine, and again, not that I'm saying this is a good thing, but I imagine like it was a similar thought process, or the thought process of like, whatever. Let's just move on. Let's just turn the page, right?
Yeah.
And we can put it behind us. And like I think we're seeing like there's that will potentially happen again, or rather, that happened in 2020. Again, as Prime essentially brought up with all the points that he made of like Biden, just want to turn the page. As in, Trump is behind us, we can forget it. Now we can go back to business as usual, civil politics. And it's like you might repeat that same mistake again.
I think I think that it was the Democrats' like olive branch to the Republican Party, and they didn't take it. And I think that people are more frustrated now. But maybe that's maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm projecting my frustration. I don't know. I don't know.
I hope there's genuine frustration to the point that, like, yes, they do not want to take the approach of let's just turn the page and forget this all happened, right? Just like Republicans, as far as I can tell, like they don't recognize George W. Bush. It's like, I think they consider him like a bad president.
They're
right?
so
like,
good.
They renounce him.
It's so convenient. That's so convenient. They're just like, no, we don't talk about George W. Bush, and you're like, oh, damn.
And I can imagine, or I can see the world where in whatever 10, 15, 20 years, like Trump will be treated the same way. Of like, we don't talk about that. Like,
I do think that it's like a massive, just like in 2000, it's like it feels 2006 in that moment where it's like a massive overreach where like the Republican Party's like going to be the bad PR move, but you're going to have like a rebrand of these guys doing this stuff. So I don't think Trump is. The problem is the anti-intellectualism and the anti-science and the algorithm steering these masses of people. And I think that if it's not Trump, it's, a billionaire like Elon Musk just buying these platforms with bot farms and just impacting elections. All right, guys. Well, anything else that you wanted to say for like closing statements or anything?
Find me on Twitch, Twitter. Why am I always bad at this when I come here specifically? Twitch, YouTube, Kick, .com/Prime Kai, PRIMECAYES. We'd love to have you. We have really fun debates. I think you'll enjoy it. So come give us a watch.
And you can find me, well, first of all, always great to be here. And you can also find debates here as well on our show. But these, I think, are debates of a different kind that are, well, still just as spirited and passionate, but like, I think, maybe a higher level of debates. But yeah, you can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 94, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, as always, great conversation.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Always
Have
a
a good
pleasure.
night.
Take care. Be
Bye.
well.
Bye.
Welcome, Overused Chew Toy. And also welcome Moira from YouTube. Usually I have the YouTube comments pop up on screen, but I'm not sure why. I'm going to have to look into that, where it's just only the Twitch comments that pop up. But yes, I agree with you, Overused Chew Toy, that there is no turning the page. As in, like, if Democrats take that approach once again, that would just be stupid. And I'm hoping that Democrats aren't stupid. But nothing would surprise me at this point. But yes, that's it for me for today. Thank you, everyone, for passing by. Overused Chew Toy, always a pleasure. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Moira and Bockel, for passing by. And anybody else that I forgot, I apologize. And yes, should be back next week. Well, actually, let's say the conversation that we had today on the show was not the planned conversation. We actually had specific topics that we wanted to go through, but we didn't get to them. Not that I'm complaining, as in I'm always happy to discuss just about anything. But yes, we'll be back next week with, let's say, we'll probably have some planned topics, but whether we'll actually cover those planned topics, well, we'll find out. But yes, until then, take care and be well.